Okay, we are rolling. Mr. Anthony Anderson, how you doing, my friend?
Very well, Justin. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, totally. So good to meet you finally for the first time.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like, dude, I was following you back in the raw food days, like in the early mid 2000s.
Yeah, 2006, 2007, I started Raw Model.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Back in the days when you were sleeping with wheatgrass and doing all that. I remember all those posts, dude. I was like totally following all that.
That's funny. I was a cater waiter in New York. So sometimes you'd have these random jobs where this person was decorating their little party with wheatgrass trays. So I ended up getting a big cardboard box and I brought home like 12 trays of wheatgrass and slept with it for about a week.
I totally remember that. That was so funny. Yeah, those were the days. That was back when you were sort of more in the New York scene, right?
Yeah.
With Drew and Philip.
Yeah, we like it raw.
That's right.
Yeah.
That was so big, dude. That was so big. Remember that?
I was in Hilo the other week and I met Ted Carr. He's a fruitarian, a well-known fruitarian. He's like, we like it raw. I can't believe it, man. I've been I was like, I felt like this old guy, you know?
No way. That's funny.
Because it was like 8 years ago.
It's probably 8 years ago.
Yeah. 2008 it was.
Yeah, Drew is now, I think, working with, who is he?
Dr. Mark Hyman.
Oh, that's right. He worked with Dr. Younger for a while.
Right.
And then he was
it up.
working with that cleanse. What was the cleanse called?
The Clean Program.
The Clean Program.
Yeah.
And then now he's doing something with Shine or something?
I'm not sure.
It's like
it's with Dr. Mark Hyman. Maybe that's Shine. I'm not sure.
I think a side project of his is something called Shine, where it's like he brings people together for like sort of conscious talks and music and like a kind of a whole, not like a concert, but kind of like that.
Yeah.
But
that sounds about right.
Yeah. It's funny. He's in LA and what's his name? Philip's in LA.
Yeah, he came back.
Are you living in LA now, or what's the deal?
Well, I have been because I was bouncing back and forth between New York City and the Big Island of Hawaii for about 3 years. And then my girlfriend was living in New York and she was ready to leave. So she thought it would be good to transfer out to Los Angeles. So that was kind of a happy balance between New York and Hawaii. And I've been back there since Valentine's Day. So It's been about 7 months or so. Not really for me. I mean, we're living in Hollywood. It's a little hectic. I have my little landscaping business there.
A little hectic.
Yeah. I mean,
Dude.
So I'm always in the car. And then my car recently just kind of died on me. So, because I've got this client up in Malibu mountain area. So I'm always driving up to 2,500 feet and back down. And I would sometimes have like 8 or 9 garbage bags full of compost in this Volkswagen Passat to bring it up to him, and I could just feel my car just struggling, you know. So it's been a lot of ups and downs. I like it. I mean, I do like the desert and all. I've been really foraging a lot this summer, but overall, it's a little much. the city life really isn't for me anymore.
Yeah.
I lived in New York for about 8 years, and I just like the peace and quiet. I don't feel like I'm missing anything.
Dude, I remember, it's funny that the whole tribe back then, because we were all into raw food and the whole thing was sort of coming up. And I remember you did a video once. It was interesting. I never forgot. You were like on your patio or something, and there was some big loud noise that went in the background.
Yeah.
And you said in your blog post that you, at the time of the recording of the video, you didn't even realize that noise was going on.
Yeah.
And you were like, it's sad that I've become so used to this amount of noise, or something like that, right?
Yeah, I was living in Williamsburg, and I think it was with I had a miracle berry or some sort of fruit out there, and the sirens all the time.
That's right, it was sirens. So you're in the belly of the beast, like totally within downtown New York?
Yeah, I've been all over. That was Williamsburg, so in Brooklyn, but that's pretty rough too. And I mean, in New York, I probably lived in 10 different places, just through the, bouncing around, this and that, model apartments, and I always prided myself on being somebody that could fit into that concrete jungle and make it work.
Yeah.
But you put a lot of energy to keep your walls up, because there's a lot of crazy stuff going on, and it's kind of keeping you from fully realizing your true potential, because you're always in defense mode a little bit.
Yeah.
But then it's good. Like, I know a lot of people that can't do it, they don't like it at all, and I think it's a good sign to be able to make it work for a little while. But for me now, I definitely want the peace and quiet, and I love being in the garden all the time, and going to the beach, watching the sunsets.
Yeah, you can't beat that.
Yeah, and then maybe visit a city once in a while.
Yeah.
That would be good.
What about living outside of a city?
I mean, I'm open to it. If I hadn't have discovered the Big Island, I'd probably be open to something like over here, a little more quiet, just drive an hour into Los Angeles. But now that I know that, and I've got a lot of good friends out there, I think I'd want to go back out there. Yeah.
It's hard when you get used to something so cool, you get exposed to something so cool, man. It's really hard because then you start comparing everything to that, and that becomes an issue. You know?
That was something else, because I went there first in 2013, the Big Island, and there's an area called Puna, which is about 45 minutes south of Hilo, and there's it's just kind of like Burning Man scene, you know, real kind of granola, and there's a nude beach, or clothing optional beach there. It's black sand, and it's all young people, you know. And I mean, you walk down there and it's half and half, clothing, non-clothing, and you just feel like you're on a different planet, you know. Everyone, and it's non-sexual. Like there's grandmas walking around with their grandkids, totally naked, you know, and it's just like, wow, this is a whole different story, you know.
Yeah, so, it's bizarre, right?
Yeah, I brought friends from the mainland, and they just can't even process what they're looking at, you know, just the community. But I mean, there's the nudity too, but then you kind of get over that quickly because it's not even sexualized. So it's just, it kind of flips you.
It's really weird because that's kind of an interesting way to sort of see where people are at in a term, not to label or judge them, but it's interesting because my family's half Australian, so we go down there and you know, it's all topless beaches or whatever, and you know, a small percentage of girls, women don't wear tops at the beach, and it's just, it's not an issue. It's not an issue, but whenever I would bring friends over or girlfriends or whatever, it would just be like this huge thing. Oh my gosh, you know, and but really, we're not designed to wear all these clothes, man. No. You know? Yeah. It's really kind of bizarre.
It is. I mean,
it's like,
well, someone who really drove that home for me was Daniel Vitalis. A lot of his stuff with the rewilding, and I'd already been exposed to some of these things, but when he started talking about it, he really just is so eloquent about it all. And it's like, what are we doing? You know, and blocking the light off, and the shame and everything. It's just, it's a weird thing.
It's a weird thing. It's culturally, religiously, from a religious perspective. I remember that photo Daniel Vitalis took of him laying on his stomach on his Instagram. Do you ever see this one where he's like, he takes it like that? And it's like just a little bit of the butt crack is showing. And it's like he's a model, you know, or like a girl model, but it's so funny.
I love him.
But yeah, he really pushes the boundaries. I like him a lot.
Yeah, I really do. And he's not, you know, he's not afraid to be himself. And he's put his neck out a lot just to be himself. So I appreciate him.
So dude, I want to ask you, it sounds like you and I and so many of the people that started back in, I think I did raw food like 100% from 2003 to 2007 or to 2010. I was like 7 years, like intense. And that was when I found you and We Like It Raw and all that whole group. And I remember watching some of your videos, and it was just like, dude, we're on the same page, because there you are. You started transitioning a little bit, doing some eggs, doing some cheese, doing some goat milk, and start slowly transitioning. So talk about that a little bit. Like, because you caught some heat, I think, at the time.
Yeah. I was so militant when I was a vegan. I didn't like anybody that was not raw vegan. I didn't respect them. I thought they were stupid. Even if this person was a mathematical genius, I wouldn't even care. I wouldn't even want to take math advice because they didn't figure out raw food yet. You know, I was really, I would go to the gym at night. I was actually a dumpster diver too. So I had this whole thing going on with my...
Oh, I think I remember that.
I was, you know, so you have this kind of flipped superiority complex because you're living off the fat of the city, and I was a raw vegan. I'd come home from the gym, and I would just see everybody like at the restaurants, and I was just judging people. I was one of those really hardcore vegans.
Dude, we all were.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but it's like the books, and then maybe how you're feeling. But by about 2000 and... Let's say We Like It Raw was 2008, 2009. Yeah, by the end of 2009, I went to a trip to Europe with my girlfriend at the time, and she had always been raw. She'd been raw for about 5 years because she wanted to clear up her skin. That was the main point.
Okay.
And she wasn't getting the success that she was looking for yet, so she was open to maybe experimenting with eggs. And actually I was in London for a month, and then we were traveling around Europe, and this was in the winter. And I don't know, I started getting nosebleeds. It was kind of strange. Yeah, I was in Prague and still raw, but I was getting these nosebleeds, you know, and I was like, this is kind of weird. So we started eating cooked food, and then we started eating eggs. And I was feeling better, but
how long had you been raw at this point?
5 years. So
5 years.
Yeah, it was the end of 2004 until 2009. Yeah.
Wow.
But 2003, I moved out to Paris France.
Okay.
And I was already I consider myself an ethical vegan, but I would still eat animal products that were at a job, you know, like I didn't want to buy it. I didn't want to support it.
I see.
But if it was there, because I wasn't making any money yet, you know,
Yeah.
and, I don't know. Yeah, it was kind of
You got to just take the food.
Yeah, I was just
kind
trying
of
to. Yeah, like it was a funny thing. So I would still eat some stuff, but then by the time I moved to New York City, I had kind of solidified my vegan values, and I started dumpster diving, and but it's still not that much money. So I would buy one of those 1 pound clamshells of spinach. I'd buy a 3 pound bag of apples, and then like a 5 pound bag of carrots, and I would eat that. And then I started supplementing with the dumpster diving.
So what was that? You just go to restaurants after, or
health food stores.
Health food stores.
Yeah,
okay.
that was, and then you're thinking, I got to go to this place, but one little health food store kept me flush forever, and I never saw other people.
What did you do? Like, did you talk to the manager and say, I want to come by at night, or?
Eventually, yeah, but in New York, the way the system is, they put all the bags out on the sidewalk around 10 p.m. And then around midnight, all the trucks come through and pick it all up. So there's no dumpsters technically.
Oh, okay. So you weren't diving into a dumpster.
Yeah, I just had my headlamp, my hoodie, and then I would actually, it was cool because you could feel which bags were your good bags.
Oh, really?
One bag was a garbage bag, one bag was the produce bag. So you'd start feeling all the fruits and everything.
So this was like right on the sidewalk, people walking by kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so you were at at 9 o'clock. So it was obviously dark.
Yeah, it was dark.
So
sometimes though I would go before dark, because you just wanted to make sure that you got good stuff.
You ever get in fights with people trying to get the good stuff?
There was one old lady that was kind of weird, but she only showed up once in a while.
Really?
And I was thinking all the people that are hungry in the city, and there's like food everywhere.
Yeah.
And yeah, I lost a little bit of respect, if that's a weird way to say it, but like for people that are begging for money or begging for food, because it was around, you just had to be resourceful.
You just had to look for it, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
so you pushed her aside from time to time and got what you needed.
Yeah, a little elbow.
Get her out of the way.
Kicked her into the traffic. But no, it was good. And I at the time, there was no processed food in my diet, so I was just bypassing all the packaged goods that I found, and I was just eating the produce, mostly leafy greens and fruit. And because I was living with a bunch of model roommates at the time, I only had so much fridge real estate that I could use. So but just by necessity, I started blending and juicing.
Just to get rid of it almost.
Yeah, just to condense it, and so then by default, I'm drinking maybe half a gallon to a gallon of green juice a day. Just because every day I would come back with like a lot of greens, a lot of produce.
That's crazy. So how much would you get in like a day?
I don't know, 10 pounds of greens.
And how much of it was usable, do you think?
A lot of it. I mean, it was like slightly wilted kale, that was the norm, or like arugula or something. So I started like experimenting. I discovered that arugula and pineapple is a great green smoothie. Just, and the kale pear. Not to say I didn't have like crazy gas for a while. And I kind of thought because of the vegan propaganda that was natural, just to have a lot of gas.
Yeah.
And there's so much fiber running through my system, and I ended up going to the bathroom like 4 times a day.
Yeah.
It's just the amount of fiber,
Yeah.
But then
we've all been there, dude.
After 10 days, I felt like I was on speed or something. I felt so alive, going to the bathroom though all the time, but I would wake up after 4 hours and just be so awake and just ready,
Wow.
But then I would maybe take a little nap at 5 p.m. And then I wake up, go to the gym, go dumpster diving. This is a weird schedule. Mm-hmm. And then I started, by that time I started working, so starting to do a job for like $1,000, maybe 2,000. And then I booked like a big Target Times Square billboard job. That was like $7,000. And then from then on out, I just kind of started snowballing up until maybe 2008, until the economic crash. So I had about 3 or 4 good years
of modeling
in New York. Yeah. And but all the while dumpster diving, like living with roommates, really skimping, because I read the book called Walden by Henry David Thoreau.
Oh yeah, good book, dude.
It was huge for me. Yeah, it was right when I was moving to Paris, so I was 23, 22, and it was all about simplicity. I was really feeling that.
Yeah.
And I just applied a lot of that book to my life in New York City. Mm-hmm. So I was living really on the cheap, saving up. And after about, 3 or 4 years, I had enough money to buy 5 acres in Woodstock, New York. Oh, okay. Not a lot of money, but it was enough.
Enough to like set aside and sort of put towards something like that.
Yeah. I did the down payment, and then I paid the rest off in a year. And it was 5 acres. I was going to put a little food forest up there. Uh-huh. By that point, though, my parents, I was thinking, should probably do something near my parents first.
Yeah.
Because I was really, there's the whole term of peak oil, peak water. So honestly, by 2006, I was peaked out. Like I was thinking shit was going to collapse.
Yeah.
I was really worried. 10 years later, it's funny.
Here we are. Yeah.
But keeping it floating. But I was so nervous, so I was like, okay, forget Woodstock for a bit. Keep saving, put the money into Minnesota. I bought 2 acres across the road from my parents.
So you didn't end up going with the Woodstock property?
No, it's still there. And I've been trying to sell it. It's kind of funny.
Wait. Oh, so you did buy it?
Yeah, I bought it.
Oh, you bought it. Okay. Yeah. And then you also you worked on your parents' place in Minnesota.
Well, then I bought the 2 acres by my parents.
Oh, okay.
So I was still making enough money, and again, I was like living really below my means, almost like a homeless person. It was kind of funny, but still I was modeling, I was making money. And so then I bought this other piece, the Woodstock piece. It's like $70,000 for the Woodstock piece. The Minnesota piece was only $20,000.
And that was a couple acres, right?
That was 2 acres. Yeah. Like 10,000 an acre, not too bad. And then I put, just for numbers sake, I put 7,000 into drilling a well. I put about 15 into building this big octagon deck. And
I've seen that thing.
Yeah, that was good,
Yeah.
And I have a rocket stove underneath that and everything.
Nice.
Eventually, I had a teepee on top of it, but it got moldy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I tore it down. And then I
gotta go big.
Yeah, I mean, you do.
you got to do it. If you can do it, you got to do it.
I was gonna go for a yurt, but the yurt was like 12,000.
Oh yeah.
You can get a good teepee for maybe 3.
Okay.
But then you got to take care of it. You really got to make sure it's clean.
Yeah, because you were going back and forth
at
that time, so you couldn't take care of it full time.
Yeah,
or whatever.
I'm glad I did the teepee, I think. But looking back now, I almost wish I would have bought like a cool trailer that you could just bring behind a truck.
Yeah.
And then, because
that would be cool.
Yeah, they're kind of set up, and I could have just parked it right on that deck. But I put 10,000 into a dome greenhouse from a company called Growing Spaces in Colorado.
Okay.
It's cool. I elected to build it myself. Again, trying to save money, but I wish I would have just had them come and build it, because it leaks air and water and it's not as efficient as the pros. So that was, it was a worthy investment, and I have a lot of stuff growing in there that I couldn't grow outside.
Okay.
But if it was a little better built, I probably could get away with more.
You think it would withstand the winters more?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because even a little bit of air, I mean, gosh, Minnesota's freaking cold, isn't it?
Yeah. Because I'm in zone 4 there, and the greenhouse now could take me to zone 5. But if it would have been built properly, probably zone 7. Like really tight, holding all the heat in. I could get away with more. I could probably grow like peaches and pomegranates. And
so that means you could grow tropical fruits inside the dome in winter?
I was trying to grow tropicals like guava, mango, avocado, but then I was spending $100 a month on propane to keep it at 45 Fahrenheit.
Oh gosh.
And still it was so dry that those tropicals don't like that. Like they like humidity and,
more moist air and all that.
I was wasting money. And so I dug those up, put them in pots, and then I planted persimmons, figs, and fuzzy kiwis.
Do you think it's possible if you had built it correctly, if they had come, you could do that, grow tropical fruits in the middle of Minnesota in the winter?
Yeah. A good example is a guy that lives in Colorado. I forget the name. It's up in the Rockies. He has the Colorado Rocky Mountain Permaculture Institute.
Is that Raw Matt?
I think his name's Jerome Ostentowski. Jerome something, and he's got a massive greenhouse with papayas. He's definitely in zone 4 or zone 5.
Wow.
And he built it really correctly. I mean, he's got solar panels on top and, a lot of thermal mass. Yeah. So you can do it. You can do bananas.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's very possible.
So is it still there?
Still there.
Yeah? So your parents are like across the street?
Across the street.
Do they partake of the
They do. Early
abundance?
on, it was kind of a weird thing. Like they saw it as like this experiment that their son...
What the hell is our son doing?
Yeah, it's like he's got this teepee across the road and oh my God. And
he's going hippie. What the
they're
hell is
thinking
his
the
problem?
neighbors are going to be calling the cops looking for marijuana.
Yeah.
Totally. So slowly but surely, though, everything started coming in, especially the berries. That's the key. Like your berries will come in first, and then your tree fruits. So before we knew it, we were picking 50 pounds of raspberries every summer. Not bad, 50 pounds.
Just of raspberries?
Just of raspberries.
Not counting blueberries, blackberries, anything else?
Yeah.
How many berries in general do you think?
Well, like there's aronia. That you can grow that up there. You can grow mulberries. Blackberries are a little more warm weather, just a little bit.
Yeah.
You'll see some wild ones up there. The other one that you just mentioned, blueberries.
Oh, blueberries.
Blueberries are okay, but they've got to be in a really wet spot.
Mm-hmm.
And the soil needs to be acidic.
So the soil itself needs to be wet.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, fairly wet because they're used to growing on bogs up in the northern peat forest, so really acidic, wet soil.
So you have to grow, I would imagine, blueberries away from because if the soil needs to be acidic, they got to kind of be separated?
A lot of people will do either just an acidic area, or they'll do containers.
Okay.
And they'll grow in an azalea mix or something that likes more like a pH of 4 or 5.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, but another one that I discovered was the Saskatoon berry or the Juneberry.
Okay.
And that's more alkaline soil, more like a 7. And it's more of a big shrub, like 6 feet, 7 feet tall. And the berries are, it's like a blueberry, but with like a little almond flavored seed in the middle. And they're really good.
Edible seed?
Edible seed, yeah.
Really?
I like them a lot. And so I planted tons of those.
What's it called? Saskatoon?
Saskatoon, yeah, because that's up in Saskatchewan, that's the area that they're grown commercially.
That is amazing.
Or service berry is another term.
Why don't we see those in stores? Are they too hard to grow commercially?
I think up north you'll see them. In Canada they sell them, but I think it was just not that popular for some reason. But they put out a lot. I don't know.
That's weird. Yeah, because in
like
the health food store you'll see mulberries, start to see these other kind of berries.
Yeah.
Goji berries obviously becoming more popular.
Yeah, you see those fresh now.
But that seems weird. I mean, if we have all these exotic fruits, you were just telling me before we were recording, we turned the mics on, that you're going to go down to an exotic fruit farm. And they have, so gosh, wouldn't that be awesome if those kinds of fruits were available at every grocery store?
I think it's getting there because it's all about the commercial growers, and like one person can do a little bit, but when you're really going to see it in the store, you need like a big grower to supply.
With blackberries and things like that, it's just they crack the code to be able to mass produce these things. And that's kind of why. So once they do that with these other kinds of foods, you could see that.
Yeah, in our area. I mean, if we lived in Saskatchewan, I think we could buy them at a grocery store, the Saskatoon berry. But maybe,
cool.
Yeah. And nowadays with the rare fruit, like there's a documentary called The Fruit Hunters.
No way.
Yeah, I love it. And I'm friends with a guy named Ken Love in that movie, and he's in Hawaii, and it just shows that there's people traveling around looking for these rare varieties to then bring back to then propagate back home.
How does it work with bringing, you know how sticklers airports and airlines are? How does it work? You doing a little undercover stuff?
Yeah, wink, wink,
under the table. Nothing here, sir.
Yeah, I was, it's kind of funny. I was giving a talk at the California Rare Fruit Growers meeting last weekend, and I mentioned some of that, and my friend who's the chairman, he's like, don't talk about that stuff too much,
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's illegal. They don't want you bringing in foreign objects. The main culprit, though, is soil. That's really where you're going to find viruses or things that aren't agreeable.
So what is it? So you mean if you were to bring a sampling of soil from like New Zealand or Australia back to the United States, that's more of an issue than bringing like an actual end product, like a piece of fruit?
Yeah, I think when it really comes down to it, for them, like Big Brother, they don't want any of it, But in reality, it's really the soil that's going to cause problems mostly. I mean, maybe if there's some aphids or any kind of
What
bug.
would that do if someone brought a little bit of soil? What would that do? Would that really do anything?
Something with the soil ecology, like something in there. I mean, it could be benign, or there could be something in it that.
So, like, let's say you brought like a pound of soil from Hawaii or New Zealand and wherever you're not supposed to, and you were to put it in your backyard, and would that affect eventually soil everywhere, do you think?
The way I come from it, my line of thinking is that it would almost be positive, like you're inoculating new minerals into the soil, new bacteria, but it's the same kind of phobia that, the germ phobia that wants us to like disinfect our whole lives. But, so I'm not sure where to draw the line with that, but
it's interesting, huh?
In the past, let's say I may or may not have brought, seeds,
it's
especially
possible in an alternative universe.
Maybe my identical twin, if I had one,
in a past life that exists now. My mom does this all the time. She's Kiwi, so she has family and friends in New Zealand, and so she'll see, be over there and see some plant that she really likes and realizes it's not here. So she'll have her cousin snip off a bit of the plant, send it in the mail, and cool. She gets it here and plants it, and it's just, that's
cool.
I mean, technically that would be illegal, but
technically, yes. Yeah. She's going to jail. That's what I wanted to do because I discovered all these white sapote varieties in California this year. And then on the Big Island of Hawaii, there's this, I think it's the Subel, and it's kind of a big green one with a white inside. And I've discovered these yellow ones that are much creamier. And I would love to take some cuttings and also mulberry cuttings, throw them in a priority mailbox and just ship them over there, and then get everything, graft them on and get it going. But
you haven't done that yet?
I have not, no. So I want to talk to Ken Love because he's worked with the University of Hawaii Ag Department, and he gets the permits and everything. And it's funny because durian is one of the few ones that you can actually bring back to the mainland without a permit.
Really?
Yeah. And aloe vera, you have to. Yeah, but because I don't know if there's like bugs or commercial stuff or something, but they don't mind that,
I wonder why that is. They must have some reason for...
It's weird.
Yeah.
When I flew back from Puerto Rico, I had a job there once, and I tried to smuggle back avocados and noni, and they wouldn't let me bring the avocados back, but they let me take the noni. It was weird. Yeah, maybe because there's nobody growing noni on the mainland or something.
So you tried to bring it from Costa Rica back to
Puerto Rico.
Or Puerto Rico back to where?
Mainland.
Really?
Yeah, just back to New York.
And so just not noni seeds, but just, there's seeds in the noni, but just the actual fruit you brought?
The fruit, yeah.
Really? Mm-hmm. Wow.
But they, some places are weird. Like they'll run it through a special thing looking for it. Like when I had a job in Mexico, I brought back soursop and other stuff, and there was no problem. I made a video about it, and yeah, I discovered the really good thing to do if you like it is just to make a big smoothie before you go, and then just have it in a jar. The pulp. Like I made a half a gallon jar of mango pulp in Hawaii once. Okay. Instead of bringing back 10 mangoes, I just made a big mango pulp jar.
So you just threw it on the blender, blended up, but then that's considered liquid, right? You might make a bomb.
That's a liquid, and then I checked it. How do you survive? I just don't get it. You just want the goods. Yeah, so I checked it, and then...
you checked it on.
I checked it, okay, yeah. And by the time, it was funny, that stuff's so alive that by the time I opened it up, it was already fizzy.
Oh, really?
It was like...
Fermenting?
Fermenting, 10-hour flight. It was just back on it, so...
Wow.
I drank it all, but it was starting to turn. Yeah.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah, stuff ferments really fast out there.
Wow. So when you check stuff through, I haven't flown, dude, in 5 years.
No way. Cool.
But yeah, so when you check stuff through, what's up with the radiation? Is it worse when you do that, or is it less?
I think it would. It's got to be pretty bad.
I would think.
It's getting X-rayed.
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, but then again, I've had seeds X-rayed before, even on the mainland, just going from state to state, and they germinate. It's fine.
Have you ever done experiments with a seed that's been X-rayed and then a seed that hasn't, and plant them next to each other?
That would be really cool.
Because I would suspect, maybe in terms of our science, we just don't have the ability to scientifically test the difference between.
Yeah.
There's got to be some damage that occurs. I would think.
I remember seeing the Wi-Fi experiment. This kid trying to do a bunch of sprouts next to a Wi-Fi router.
Oh yeah.
But then I don't know. I would have thought that would have been more duplicated by now.
Yeah. I guess there's nothing you can really do other than just not fly.
Yeah.
Have you heard about those things going on with the spraying and on the flights themselves?
I came back from a job in Asia once, and both flight attendants walked down the aisle.
On your flight?
Yeah, just spraying it. And they had masks on, and I'm looking over. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So I'm sitting there like this, for about 10 minutes. And everyone's just kind of on their phones doing stuff. And I'm like, what is going on here? I think they're trying to disinfect the air with something, in case there's a germ in the air. They could have lit white sage or something, or Palo Santo, but
they didn't want to do that.
They're not going to do that for us.
No. White what? What?
Just walking down the aisle with 2 aerosols, just like...
You wonder what they're...
Surreal.
Gosh, yeah, there's a big story about that. Do you follow Erin from over at HealthNet News?
No.
She's Dr. McCullough's
sure.
Yeah.
Erin Elizabeth. Yeah.
Yeah, so she posted this article of this girl who just got back from, I think it was South Africa. And I have a couple friends in South Africa, and I was asking them, but they... Apparently, all flights that go in and out of South Africa, they're doing this.
It was South Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was from Cape Town.
Yeah, and I flew down there 10 years ago, and I didn't have any of that. But
yeah.
So anyway, this lady or this girl was protesting it, and I guess I don't know if you saw the story, but gosh, she was met at she was either leaving South Africa and coming back to America or vice versa. Mm-hmm. But wherever she landed, she was met by 10 cops, in full riot gear and full uniform. And it was just like, wow. because she was somehow making a fuss on the plane about what this is all about, and all the surrounding passengers were telling her, you're crazy. Oh yeah. You know, what are you doing? You know, and it's like, excuse me, I just don't want to be sprayed. I don't know what this stuff is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I know, it's really weird.
Did people think you were nuts when you were covering up?
I kind of kept to myself and, you know, just covered it up. But, I don't want to make a scene really, but I couldn't believe that it was happening. I'd never seen that before. So luckily I haven't seen it since.
And that was coming from Asia?
That was coming from South Africa.
Oh, yeah. Really? Okay.
Yeah. I lived in Cape Town in 2012 for 2 months. Flying back, they did that. That was where it was.
So they sprayed it. I think they do it upon landing, don't they?
I felt like it was as we were taking off.
Is it that way?
Yeah.
Okay. So they were spraying as you were leaving Cape Town to come here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a trip. Yeah.
Gosh, you almost have to like just wear a full body mask, like the boy in the bubble kind of thing.
Yeah, these days, even just living up in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
A funny thing about Cape Town though was I lived there for 2 months. I completely blue skies the whole time. I didn't see one white extended chemtrail for 2 months.
Wow.
And I've been living in New York for a while at that point, so every day I was seeing them. And then lived in Cape Town. There's an airport, just very busy city, not one thing. I don't know what the reasoning was, but for 2 months it was just complete. I never seen blue skies like that for years.
Wow.
Just deep blue. Not hazy, milky, you know.
Yeah.
I think what we think of as a blue sky now is kind of this slightly milky blue.
Yeah, kind of a hazy, like a little tint of white or something.
Yeah. So that was kind of a cool thing to see that it was still, possible.
So what were you doing down there? Helping people build, configure their food forest?
Yeah, well, I added that in because I had an agency down there. So what the deal is, usually they'll advance you your flight and they'll advance you 2 months of an apartment. And then in that time frame, you need to make enough to pay that back.
Oh, okay.
And then, so it's not like they're paying for it, but they'll lend it to you. And then since I was down there, I always like to do permaculture stuff, and I go to the botanical gardens. And at a casting, I met a fellow permaculturist. Her name's Tara Walker. And it was funny. I was doing some essential oils, and she's like, "Oh, cool, essential oils." And we found out that we were into permaculture.
No way. So a fellow, or was she a South African?
She was South African.
A model?
Yeah. She was a model, yeah.
Okay, and so she was there for casting, and you just met her. How crazy.
Yeah, we just met, and then we started talking about it, and she knew this squatter camp up in a neighborhood called Tamborskloof. It's up on Long Street, and it's behind the Cape Milner Hotel. If everyone's up there.
Wow.
And it's this old kind of village, and people live up there. And she's like, "Oh, I've been trying to do stuff for a long time, And I was like, "Well, I'll just buy some trees and let's just do it, and film some stuff." And I think what happens is a lot of people, they have their overall master plan, and it's so overwhelming that they never plant anything, And it's good just to start in one little corner and just start planting stuff and then expand instead of that analysis paralysis thing that happens a lot.
Yeah, because there's so much that goes into it, especially when you know sort of more of the spiritual aspects and the Victor Schauberger aspects like you do. There's so much that goes into like where you plant stuff and how things interact with each other, right? It can get really deep.
It can, So I think she was a little afraid to take that first step.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of like, I don't know, I just go for it, So I knew I'm kind of good at like you can match a tree with the microclimate, like, okay, that's a little wet spot or this is good. So we bought like 10 trees and we planted them, made a little video, and just did it, It was really cool. And that was one of my first Grow Paradise videos.
Oh, really?
Actually, that was the first one. It was the Cape Town, Growing Paradise in Cape Town or something.
So had you set up Grow Paradise before that?
Just before. I mean, it was like, I was doing Blackbird Naturals, the truffle company.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, we were selling seeds. And we had a thing called Replant Paradise. That was kind of like the tagline, I guess, because we were putting some of the profits into permaculture.
Okay.
And then, but after I left, I liked Grow Paradise. So we went with Grow Paradise and just started going from there. And I was posting online, but I hadn't been doing anything active until I went to Cape Town.
Okay.
And then...
that was your first sort of big project for Grow Paradise.
Yeah, it was cool.
Wow.
And then I went to Miami soon after. We did a planting at a high school. And again, it was like I knew a kid that worked at Whole Foods, and he was one of the organizers, and we went down to a nursery. We bought like $100 worth of trees, came back, planted them, and
No
filmed
way.
it. It wasn't like, I don't know, it wasn't that hard.
Yeah.
And I was like, you see all these things, and it's like the red tape, and so I was just like, I just buy them,
Yeah.
And we set it up. It was with the Ecology Club, and we just planted like 5 trees.
In Miami?
In Miami.
Really?
Yeah,
So,
it was cool.
so did he have a big area to do that?
Yeah, it was, we just kind of went through, like, it was an outdoor school kind of thing. So from hallway to hallway, we just plant like a avo here, mango here, a couple things, and we filmed it, took some pictures.
Wow. I think I remember that on your website.
Yeah, it was cool.
Dude, I was driving back from, when Kate and I were driving back from Hemet, where we used to get our local spring water. Dude, we're driving down Hemet, in Hemet, and Hemet's just this big, long street. It's just like a street that lasts for miles and miles. And along the street, there's orange trees, there's fruit trees of all kinds, avocado, just, on the sidewalk. And these little, I just thought,
that's rare.
Why don't we do that?
Yeah.
What is up with that?
It's usually, I think, on the surface, they're worried about vermin.
Is that what it is?
Attracting animals. Yeah, but I think on a deeper level, free food isn't good for the economy, I would say. Or if it's too available, it might attract human vermin. I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking.
Or are they thinking of not, like, maybe trash and waste issues?
Possibly, just stuff rotting on the ground, flies. I don't know, but like in a time where food's so expensive and people are eager to plant it, I always wondered that too. I was like, why isn't there fruit trees everywhere? But it's like city landscapers are usually instructed to always go with non-fruiting. Even if they're planting olives, pears, it's always just flowering varieties, never fruiting, because they don't want the mess. They consider it a mess.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's so sad because, man, I mean, if you were to think about setting up a society, setting up a city and a culture and making sure people are taken care of, like one of the things I love about Hawaii so much is that so much of it is just overgrown. Yeah. There's just no landscapers who are landscaping this little tiny plot of grass. So it's this perfect square. And then so every Wednesday, the guy's got to come out and make all this noise and do all that stuff. Yeah. And I just love Montecito's like that too. And there's so many places that are just overgrown. Yeah. And I love that. Yeah. It's like kind of like chaos gardening, but chaos like vegetation or chaos just plants everywhere. I love that.
Yeah, I love it too. And there's just like a really rich history of people wanting to grow their own food there, and that it's so easy, So normally, let's say some of these domesticated varieties, even like a mango or something, they need some more help. But over there, it rains so much, that any kind of seed that falls on the ground has a good chance of germinating.
Yeah, because noni trees are everywhere, right?
Yeah, everywhere. Yeah. I mean, when I first went there, my first noni was in Bali. And it wasn't what I hoped, because I ate it and it was just horrible.
Yeah, they taste horrible.
But when I came to Hawaii, they were a little bit sweeter somehow, and they were just everywhere, So at that point, you could put them in the jar and make your own noni juice. And when you make noni juice like that, you just put a bunch in a big glass jar and then just wait a few days, and you'll see the water, the juice start to fill up from the fruits.
Oh, so you don't even put water in the jar?
No, you just put a bunch of dry fruits in there, and then they'll get soft, and then you'll start to see the liquid rise. Oh. And then you just pour it off, and it's this really nice kombucha tasting liquid.
So is it fermented?
It's fermented, yeah.
Really?
And I like it when it's fresh like that. Some people like to then put it in a jar and then let it go another month, and really
ferment it even more.
Yeah, like really get it sour.
So noni is so horribly tasting already. So when you do that and it's fermented, typically people don't like fermented things because they think it tastes so bad. Yeah. I like fermented food. I think it's kind of like an acquired taste. Yeah. But does it make an already horrible tasting fruit taste worse?
Ironically, it makes it better.
Really? Yeah. Because it's so bad it could only get better, right?
It goes from Limburger cheese or something just nasty to something that's like kombucha, it's kind of sweet.
That's interesting.
And then I would just use that as a base, and I would blend in turmeric, aloe, orange juice, and ginger, and then filter it out and have like a really bright yellow elixir.
Yeah.
That was good.
Turmeric, that sounds good. Yeah.
And out there you get it for, it grows everywhere, but you can get it for like $4 a pound, or even they'll just sell like a big bag for $2. It's just everywhere. Yeah. And I just put like a little bit in every time. And
noni is so powerful from what I understand. I've only tried it a couple times when I was in Hawaii, but you can get stuff at the store here, but it's just not the same. Yeah. It's kind of like this. processed stuff.
Yeah,
right?
it's not raw, and then usually there's some other juices in it, and
the thing that's bizarre about noni is it's so powerful, and yet people just walking around, stepping on it, walking past it, it's laying on the grass, on a tree, on the sidewalk. No one cares.
Yeah.
No one eats it.
Yeah. It's almost like a king in pauper's clothing.
Yeah.
Maybe that would be a good way to put it. And I didn't know how useful it was, but there's a little cafe in Hilo. They make stir fry out of the leaves.
Oh, really?
You can use the roots for tincture. Lots of different stuff. And it's extremely medicinal.
So you can use the leaves of the tree.
Yeah.
And then the roots of the tree as well.
Yeah.
And then the fruit.
And the fruit. I'm sure you can use the bark. I mean, who knows? But
yeah,
very real tree of life. And they say if you're ever on a deserted island, your chances of surviving are going to be from a noni more than a coconut.
Really?
Yeah, because the liquid from the noni, it's much easier to get. Coconuts sometimes, you'll find them, but they're not as prevalent as a noni might be. Yeah.
Well, because I think there's some sort of long chain polysaccharide that's in the noni that's sort of like what would be considered a sweetener, a sweetness, but it's such a long chain that it's actually kind of bitter or tart, right?
Like aloe.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of,
what did you bring this?
She's one of the best leaves I've seen for a long time. I've got a client. She runs a daycare center in Culver City, and she's got 2 monster aloes. And so whenever I'm there, I kind of just take a leaf, and she doesn't like it. I used to try and show her how to make smoothies from it, but she just she just kind of lets me take them. So there you go.
Oh, I can have this?
Yeah, that's for you. Yeah,
no way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Dude, this is like unlike any other aloe, because usually the ones I get at the store around here is when they start thinning out.
Yeah.
Really.
Whoa.
Wow. Thanks, man.
Absolutely.
Dude, I'm going to blend this up. Recently, we've been eating it just in chunks, and it's so weird.
Yeah.
It's so weird in your mouth. Like it's just this gooey, kind of weird, bizarre.
Do you use it topically at all?
Yeah, we use it topically, and I usually put it in blended drinks. You can't even taste it.
Yeah.
But I think Kate was coming down with a cold a while back, or what was it? Something where she was eating it. And just in chunks, and it's just have you done that?
Oh yeah.
It's so weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty weird. I was trying to make the chunks and then marinate them in like a juice, to see if it's almost like you can make fun little appetizers, like put a toothpick in the cube. It tastes like, I don't know, whatever, but it doesn't really absorb it too much. Yeah.
I heard someone once tried to make cut them up into cubes and then dehydrate them.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, but I never learned like what the outcome of that was.
Yeah, funny. I guess on the same note, I brought this for you too. This is the prickly pear juice.
Oh, dude, that's for me?
Yeah, it's for you.
Oh, no way.
Yep.
Oh, thanks, man.
So
I thought it was just for you.
No, I brought it for you. Yeah, I've been drinking so much of that. So
thank you.
Yeah, I had about a gallon left before I left for Hawaii, so I poured it into about 4 of those jars. And I had, obviously, since I froze it, I had to put a little bit less in.
Oh, yeah,
So when it froze, it wouldn't crack.
Yeah.
And I was picking, that was one of the highlights of the summer, was finding this one variety of prickly pear called the Silver Dollar.
No
and
way.
It's the genus name is Opuntia, and then the species is called Robusta.
Okay.
Opuntia robusta, and then the variety is called Maxima, or the Silver Dollar. And I would pick about 5 gallons of juice.
Oh my gosh.
You got a little bit on the nose there. And then I would then just blend it. I would blend it in the Vitamix and then sift it. Once in a while, you might feel one of the little spikes, but I try and re-blend it all to make sure there's no spikes.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And
dude, that's good.
Yeah, it's good.
That's
Some people
really
don't
good.
like it, but I think our tribe likes it,
Well, because I think you and I and people like us, we're trained more. Our palate is not like our norm is not Snickers bars, and pizza. So it's it's slightly sweet, but not too sweet.
Right.
And I like that.
I always compared it to beet and cucumber.
Okay.
It was just this weird thing, but I like to mix it with OJ, the aloe. It's a nice morning thing. I brought it to a fruit luck, like a potluck with fruit, and I brought 2 of those jars and a bunch of oranges.
Okay.
And we would kind of scoop out the orange and then make little cups. And it was almost like blood orange juice, kind of
no
drinking
way.
your thing. And yeah, that was cool. It took me a while to juice it all, but I love that stuff. Like,
Dude, thanks for bringing that.
absolutely, man. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Foraging is my passion.
I just thought it was, for you. I was like, wow, that looks really good.
Oh no, yeah.
That's awesome.
For you.
Prickly pear, what does it look like?
It's probably about waist high.
Okay.
And the pads of that prickly pear are much more light blue instead of like a typical green.
Okay.
Instead of the light green, it's more of a blue. That's why they call it the silver dollar, I guess. Kind of like a silver blue. And then these, the fruits on these are like this big.
Okay.
Almost the size of a tennis ball.
Okay.
It's crazy. In Arizona, they're more like your thumb.
Okay.
You know, different species. So once I found those, actually, I have a client up there, and I saw them in flower back in like May.
Okay.
I'm like, well, this could be pretty good. Like,
Yeah.
I've never seen this variety, but this looks good, you know? And then I started to see the fruits develop. They're kind of green for a while, but then they started to go red. And I was a little impatient. I started picking them as they were still a little green.
Mm-hmm.
They were okay, but then once they really started darkening up, they were amazing.
Really?
Yeah, just really nice, neutral, sweet, but not too overpowering.
Nice.
And then I could pick a 5-gallon bucket in honestly like 5 minutes or 10 minutes because they're so big.
Yeah.
Run it through the Vitamix, run it through the strainer, and I would have about 3 gallons of juice in about 2 hours.
So you would just blend the whole thing. You don't actually juice it. You just run it through the blending process.
You know, if I would have had like a good centrifugal juicer, I would have tried it. But since I only had the Vitamix, I ran it through there, maybe like 8. No, I would do 5 of the fruits at a time in the Vitamix. You need the plunger because you really got to mash
It's
it in.
super thick.
Make a slurry.
Okay.
Pour the slurry through the metal strainer, not a nut milk bag. I saw Elena Love on her Instagram do it with a nut milk bag. I've tried that, and your hands get full of the spikes, you know, and you
How
almost
does she do it?
she blends it in the Vitamix and then she just pours it through, and she was like milking it, you know, and
Wow.
no way. Like, I had to pour mine in the metal colander and then with a metal spoon or a wooden spoon, just keep stirring it until it all drained through. And then I would have this pulp.
Okay.
And then I would put the pulp back in a big bag, bring the pulp back up the mountain, spread it all over for the animals, for the birds.
see.
And I kind of, you know, it's tough up there, you know. So
Yeah.
I kind of felt bad taking what I did, but I would bring everything else back up there. They would eat the seeds and the pulp. I'd come back the next morning, it's all gone.
Oh, wow.
You know.
That's insane.
Yeah. And so that was the trick, was using the metal colander instead of the nut milk bag, because you ruin your nut milk bag. It's so full of spikes.
And you're going to get spikes on,
you get them in
on
your hands. Yeah. So
You ever had a spike come through there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh totally. Yeah. I'd still. It's crazy. You know, I got so used to it, and I'd have to drive around with my tweezers in the car and just constantly like looking up in the light and find them. And you get them in your lips and all kinds of stuff.
That's funny, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting because my just you describing all of that is it's cool because, you know, there's a definite connection with food, right? And there's I think there's a spiritual connection for sure. And it's so funny because people have such differing opinions about that kind of stuff. My brother always jokes, like, he doesn't even eat I was gonna say lemons, oranges, because it's too much work. Oh. It's too much work to peel the skin off. Yeah. And I'm hearing you talk about all this stuff, but you know, he kind of says that, you know, tongue in cheek, but there is that aspect of life where it's like, we're so disconnected from our food that we don't want to even have any input into the process of either growing it, harvesting it, working with it, milling it, eating it, cleaning it up. And so there's this complete lack of connection in that whole cycle. And
totally.
In the same way that we're disconnected from the cycle of life in terms of food, we're also disconnected from the cycle of life with everything.
Yeah.
We're cut off from birth, we're cut off from death.
Yeah.
Everything's sterilized, like you were just saying a few minutes ago. We're, you know, antibiotic this, and we're just, you know, sterilizing our entire lives, and we're so disconnected from everything.
Yeah.
And just, I was kind of laughing inside at the contrast between what you're saying and my brother. You know, he doesn't eat an orange because it's too difficult to peel the skin off. It's like, wow.
Somehow, I don't know what happened. I mean, I was pretty mainstream. I was always kind of a sensitive kid, you know, but fairly mainstream until I was maybe 22, and then started getting into it. Started, you know, getting into raw, and that's when I remember before raw, I was wanting to eat healthy a little bit, so I started buying chicken breasts, and I had a George Foreman grill. I was living in Minneapolis, making my own sandwiches. That was kind of like the first step.
At least it's a step in the right direction,
you know,
right?
And I liked it. Like, it felt good, you know. And then I would, I moved to Europe. And then, living out there, I had to cook my own food, you know. I don't know, I'm a pretty frugal guy, you know, so I'm trying to save and making my own food, so I would just start doing that. And then when I got into raw full time, that was like full food prep, always in the kitchen.
You always have to make stuff,
Yeah, I mean, my mom, my sisters, they thought I was a little obsessed about it, like a little, I forget that term.
Compulsive?
Yeah, but
that's how I was too.
It's like that. It's a medical term where you're like overly healthy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like you're freaking out about it, like everything. It's called like
obsessive compulsive? Or?
Yeah, but it has to do with food. It escapes me now. Yeah, there was a thing on 2020 about it. Orthorexy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How do you spell that?
Like orthodontic. ORTHO. Rexy.
Oh, like anorexic.
Yeah, orthorexic.
Wow.
Yeah, like orthodontics. I'm not sure what ortho exactly means, but it must mean something about health.
Yeah.
Like healthy teeth.
Wow.
Orthodontics. So orthorexia. And I remember telling my mom, like, I'm not sure about buying food at the health food store. I think I want to start growing it. And she almost had to sit me down and be like, are you mentally?
Really?
Yeah. She's like, I think you're taking this a little too far. Like it's too much.
And in your mind, if your mind works like mine, it's immediate resistance. Like you don't know what I know.
Yeah.
All that,
like,
right?
You don't get it. You don't get it. Like you don't get the energy that you're putting into it. And maybe it's an American thing. Like there's a really awesome book called Animal Vegetable Miracle. And it's written by an American woman who moved from Tucson to Virginia to live with her family off the land. And they had this whole challenge of everything was with anything that they bought was within 100 miles. And then they would grow most of their own stuff. Barbara Kingsolver is her name. And, she did an interview on NPR on the show called Speaking of Faith.
Okay.
And talking about the connection of food and everything and how like Europeans, like even European businesswomen, they still will come home after work and they want to go to the grocery store and buy mushrooms to cook these new mushrooms that are in season. And it's still like a thing there. Mm-hmm. But you cross over the Atlantic and it's all about convenience and there's a lack. But I think there is a resurgence with the foodie movement.
Slow food movement.
Yeah,
slow
food. People, I'm so thankful for people like Anthony Bourdain, even of No Reservations, because of that, people have an appreciation for the farmers and all these other things, like quality food, and he's trying to get people out of thank goodness it's Friday. TGIFs, right, Applebee's and whatever, and he just made so much fun of it, and he made it kind of cool to like not want to go, and so there is something coming up, but there is this hardcore contingency of people that just don't want to make their food, and they just want a stranger to make it.
Yeah.
And I'm the exact opposite. Like, I really don't want strangers involved, I totally love them. It's all good, brothers and sisters, but I like to be involved to the deepest area where I'm either growing it or foraging it from the wild.
How often are you disconnected? Like in terms of how often would you have something that a stranger made?
Oh, I mean, if I ever go to a restaurant, like we went to this Indian restaurant the other day, so it does still happen, of course.
Yeah, but just the majority of what you eat.
Definitely. Yeah. I do, my food shopping is either farmers markets or Trader Joe's. Mm-hmm. And then, I just make the most of it, but I cook at home almost primarily. Mm-hmm.
You cook your food?
I do. Oh,
don't you know the enzymes are destroyed?
I prepare my food at home.
I'm a food preparer. You're killing the life force.
I know,
Anthony. I mean, gosh.
I could buy enzymes, I guess, right? Buy them from somebody, expensive enzymes.
I know, right?
I don't know, but yeah, it's a funny thing. But it was weird once I switched out. I guess to go back to the story of the food. I mean, long ways around on that one. I got into the animal products.
Oh yeah.
Huge tangent there.
Yeah,
but
I forgot we went off.
Yeah, I don't know. It was. It's been a real story, and so I ended up losing some friends. Vegan acquaintances that I had that. We didn't follow the same religion anymore, basically. So I was kind of kicked out of the cult, but it was good, and I felt so much more stable, And I always kept my love for fruit. I kept my love for growing foods. Kept my love for local, and because I switched to more of a high fat diet, and then with high animal fats, egg yolks, grass-fed cream, grass-fed butter, my sugar cravings disappeared overnight. Like I felt for the first time in half a decade that I had I had control again. Yeah. I was no longer walking down the streets of New York City being pulled into a place because it smelled good. Like I was good. I would make this like an eggnog kind of thing in the morning with like nutmeg and egg yolk and cream and stuff. And I would drink that at like 9 a.m., 10 a.m. I would be good until 6 p.m. And it was liquid,
Yeah, it's so bizarre, right?
Yeah, I know it went through my stomach fast, but the fat was so satiating. Mm-hmm. And then, so I was like, wow, I think I'm on to something here, And I was reading the Weston A. Price book, Nutrition and Physical Degeneration.
Excellent book.
Excellent. You can find it online for free at the Gutenberg Australia site.
Yeah, you can just download it.
Yeah, all the photos are there. You can skip around. Awesome book. And I think as a vegan, I completely discounted this. I didn't even think about, hunter-gatherers. I probably just, chalked it up to them being savages and not knowing any better yet, and thinking that I was a more evolved human living off of plants.
We don't need to do that these days.
Yeah, they were, kind of stuck in the Stone Age, and now we're advanced. We're eating superfoods that we're buying all, for expensive prices. And so I read that book and I saw the health, they were just so robust. Their teeth were perfect. And
the structure of their jaws, nice and wide and square, and it's amazing.
Yet eating animal products, eating cooked foods. But then, and also besides the physical appearance, there was no sickness. Very rarely did they have any sickness. It was only until they ate processed foods did they come down with tuberculosis and other things.
Yeah.
And so that was a huge, Daniel Vitalis turned me on to that one. And it really opened my eyes, So I was willing to start experimenting, and it just made so much sense, And I never had my blood work done. I kind of wish I would have. I actually, when I became vegan early on, 2004, when I started dumpster diving primarily, my diet was so low in fat that I lost any sexual desires for about 2 months, where I felt like I was reaching a new level of my pathway. I felt like I was a monk, that I wasn't controlled by animal desires anymore. So I felt it was a good thing, but I was 24 years old, Yeah,
that's weird, right?
I wish I would have had my blood work done, because I could have seen if my cholesterol was so low that it was affecting my testosterone.
I'm sure.
So when I started eating some nuts and seeds again, it came back.
So you went I thought I was pretty extreme, but you went to the low fat sort of side. A lot of fruit.
A lot of fruit.
30 bananas in one day?
Only in my dreams.
It's something to work up to.
If I would have found them.
But it's funny because that whole thing is so extreme. And I think it's, eventually from that, you start looking at, breatharianism, and you start getting into all kinds of, I'm not going to, I don't know. I don't want to experiment with that.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound appealing to me.
Yeah.
And when I used to do a lot of fruit, I was doing so much fruit, my teeth got all screwed up. I have a missing tooth because I had the root canal from eating.
No kidding.
I got all these cavities in these 2 teeth. And that's why I went to biological dentist out in Texas, had my root canals taken out because I had all these cavities from that.
Stuart Nunnally?
Yeah, Dr. Nunnally. Yeah. Wow. Have you gone to him?
No, I heard about him on Patrick Timpone's.
Oh, yeah. He's awesome.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Oh, he's amazing. If you ever get a chance to go out to see him, he's just, he's been on our show a couple of times, and he's just like the salt of the earth kind of guy.
Awesome.
Like super, but he's really into all of the stuff that you're talking about, Weston A. Price and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, that was huge. And I could feel that too, eating the fruit. I could feel the sensitivities building up. And sometimes in Minnesota, my grandfather had a huge apple tree, and we would just eat nothing but apples for the afternoon. And I could feel his sensitivity come again.
Yeah.
So it's like, is it my blood sugar's too high? And I don't know, something going on. So I would start eating more grass-fed butter again, and then it would go away, So,
how did you eat it?
Oh, I would even just buy a chunk of it and
just eat it.
Yeah, it was one of the easiest foods. Like if I was doing castings in New York, I would have a chunk of Kerrygold butter with me in a little plastic container, and then I would just eat it as I needed to go, and it would keep me satisfied until I got home. And you can buy a chunk. Again, I'm kind of a frugal guy. You buy a thing of Kerrygold that's 1,600 calories, 8 ounces of butter for $3. And
wow, that's a good deal.
Yeah, and even if you cut that in half, you got your 800 calories from fat every day. It's $1.50, and then supplement that with veg, whatever else, for some fruit, and you're living pretty well,
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, so I would do that, but I would also use stir fries and I don't know, like sourdough bread, big thick slab of butter. A little sea salt. And it was just a real go-to, made it easy. People always, I bring it to the agency and show them, they thought it was so funny and,
That's so funny.
Just eating butter.
Yeah, that's so funny. I had my little coffee drink this. I do like 4 ounces of coffee a morning.
Yeah.
And that whole thing with the bulletproof thing.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah.
It's a good thing, but I kind of, it's like if I'm going to take the time to do that, I might as well just put a bunch of other stuff in there. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So I've been adding I use monk fruit as the sweetener because it's super low glycemic. I do coconut butter as well as the coconut oil. Mm-hmm. I don't do that well with butter. I do well with ghee.
Oh, okay.
So I've been doing ghee and then the collagen, and I'll put some one more whey in there, some colostrum from Thrival.
Yeah.
And man, it tastes
that's a good one.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Ooh. So I could live off that for hours and hours.
Wow. Yeah. That's a nice one. Yeah. I was doing bulletproof for a while. I still do, but another one I added in was shilajit. Yeah. Just a little bit. It gives it a little smoky kind of cool thing.
So what is that?
What is shilajit? Shilajit is like petrified plant matter that was locked between the plates, the moving mountains back in the Himalayas. And somehow it's at high pressure and it comes oozing out of the cracks as this dark liquid, very smoky. And they discovered that the monkeys were eating it. And
oh, really? That's how they found it?
Yeah, but probably a long time ago. Wow. The destroyer of weakness.
That's what it's called?
Yeah.
Shilajit, the destroyer of weakness.
Yeah. But then now, so when you see it, it's sold as a powder. But then I was with a woman who was a superfood importer who lived in France.
Okay.
And so we would go to these organic food fairs, and we would meet, like a guy from India, and he's selling shilajit, but he's selling like chunks of it, like the real stuff coming out of the ground, like the paste. And then you would just take like a little taste of it, and that was supposed to be enough, but somehow they're processing it with other things to make it powder.
So now it's a powder.
It's a powder. Yeah. I mean, you can still buy the paste, but it's not as user friendly. Like you have to cut off a little chunk and then put it in your thing or something. But it's so smoky and black.
I wonder. I don't know. I'm completely speaking out of my neck here. I don't understand how they can process that into a powder. And I wonder, were you up to date on all that stuff that was going on maybe about a year and a half ago with zeolite?
No.
Did you know about that?
I used to use it a lot from Health Force.
Oh gosh, Mike Adams came out. You know how he has that lab, right?
Yeah.
In Texas. Yeah, he came out with this whole thing about zeolite, and it is the worst thing ever, apparently. And he put out this public warning, and he was like, I don't want to name names, but my lab test results are showing all this negative side effects of zeolite.
Whoa.
And all of these chemicals that are in it and all this stuff. And it's like, I mean, I still listen to David Wolf, like on my iPod, he's still on there, and I still listen to him every day. And he's talking about zeolite this, zeolite that, to pull it, and so I wonder if all of that stuff is true that Mike Adams was showing. But it seems possible because he seems like he's been on our show. You might know him. He seems like a pretty nice guy.
I trust him.
Yeah, and he doesn't have any stake in the game with it, right? He's not going to make money off of it. So he was coming out with all this data about how dangerous zeolite was, and we were selling it on our website. And I was like, oh my gosh! So we just shut it down. We don't sell it anymore. And he was saying that it's full of heavy metals and mercury and things, and I think that, because zeolite comes from a similar environment, right? It's like a volcanic thing. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if the same thing is going to be coming out about shilajit.
Wow.
Because doesn't it come out from the volcanic?
It's right between those two plates, like where the Indian subcontinent joins up into Nepal, So there's a lot of activity up in there, for sure.
I just wonder about these kinds of things where it's like, it's not really a food, but animals are eating it.
Yeah. That's crazy about zeolite.
Yeah.
I did a cleanse once with zeolite where this was nuts. My friend and I, we were in a sauna all day long. We went back and forth. It's like one of those kind of day spa deals.
Okay, yeah.
Had a gallon of water and then a bunch of zeolite. And we just went in and out of the whole thing, sweat, drink more water, zeolite.
Just back and forth.
Yeah. The next day, just messed up, like kidneys. The kidneys were so sore. I thought I was detoxing. I thought we'd flushed everything out.
Yeah. Well, maybe you were.
I guess, but I was really not feeling so hot there. It was pretty. Her and I both. We were laid up for about a day, and I just thought it was everything getting flushed out. But now that you say this, I'm kind of intrigued.
Yeah, look up Natural News and then space zeolite or something.
Not bentonite though. Bentonite seems okay.
I mean, it was all just the zeolite stuff.
Wow.
And so all these companies were threatening lawsuits against him because he was not naming names, but he was saying that every of the major, so you have like, I forget what the names are of them, but
well, there's that NCL one, the drops.
NCD. Yeah.
Where they just put like a little bit of clay in and then water. Mm-hmm. So then compared to that, like the Health Force one seemed like a great deal, huge jar, almost for the same price, I thought. But I haven't used it for a while. I don't know.
Yeah, I've got a whole thing of it in powder, I think, from Health Force.
Yeah.
And I'm just scared to take it.
Shoot.
It's like sitting in my cupboard. And I think, this is either going to help me or it's going to kill me. I don't know what to do.
Like a bowl out of it or something.
Yeah.
You got that little zeolite cup.
Yeah, wouldn't that be crazy? Yeah, it's a little bit weird. So I wonder about these things. I mean, obviously things like goji berries or fruits that you're growing, but substances like that, I don't know what to think of them. Either they're the best thing ever, or in 10 years or something's going to come out about them.
Even some of the fruits too. I mean, we toured an organic goji berry farm in Inner Mongolia, Inner Mongolia is one of the provinces of China.
Okay.
It was annexed about 50 years ago. Unlike Tibet, they didn't have a central religious figure.
Okay.
So it kind of just got absorbed. They weren't really fighting back. But that's a major producer of goji berries. And so he's one of the only certified growers. And he says if it's not certified organic, they spray them so bad because the birds, the bugs, it's such a little tender fruit.
And they love it.
Yeah, it's just so vulnerable to the nature, so they have to spray it with a lot of stuff. If it is organic, they surround the fields with netting to catch birds in the nets. And
if it is organic,
they have to put nets up, almost like you're in like a driving range.
Yeah.
So huge nets going along the orchards to catch any birds, and the birds die.
Wow.
So any vegans out there that are into goji berries, there's a lot behind the scenes. They're having to kill birds that are otherwise threatening the crop. And, if it's not organic, and I remember seeing some that's like mountain grown or like certified, this, whatever, but it's not organic, so you wonder, like, are they still spraying it? And then there was, I don't know. Yeah. You want to name names, and somebody's getting goji berries from Uzbekistan there. And I was talking to my ex, and she's like, there's no growers in Uzbekistan. There's a dealer in Uzbekistan who's probably buying Chinese berries and then saying that he's growing them in Uzbekistan because it sounds more exotic.
Yeah. It's
because
a new country.
Yeah. Nobody wants to buy Chinese berries.
Because of all the stuff you're talking about?
Yeah, and just the bias against Chinese quality and everything. Right. So that's why it says product of Inner Mongolia or product of Mongolia or something instead of China. Because people see China and they think sewage or something. So this guy is bringing them to Uzbekistan and saying that there's an orchard in Uzbekistan, So all these people are like, oh, cool, it's like a fresh thing in Uzbekistan. It's like they're Chinese berries and they're probably sprayed. But I don't know, I don't want to obviously point fingers, but there's a lot of, there's so much motivation to lie in that industry. And I learned firsthand from her, like she was trying to buy like a whole container of goji, and then they find out that it's contaminated with pesticides, but then the dealer disappeared, and it's all this shady stuff going on, because if you lie, you can charge 4 times as much, so there's such a huge incentive for dishonesty in that business.
Gosh, that's crazy.
It's tough. Right? And then again, it just goes back to like, go local, go with your own stuff as much as possible. Really trust your suppliers.
Yeah,
it's tough.
That's what's so hard, because for the most part, I mean, buying just regular packaged food at the store is hard enough because you got to read the package label, all those ingredients, and you got 60 ingredients on one food item. So that's hard enough. So then you start moving into, if you're still buying at a grocery store, then you start moving to the outer aisles, and then you're buying regular food or real food.
Yeah.
But then still you got this issue, right? All the stuff you're talking about. And it becomes like all these layers that like, it's so weird because people in our lives would think we're crazy because we're such sticklers for quality.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you're not, then you're getting exposed to so many chemicals that who knows what's going on, especially when they interact with one another. If you're eating sprayed goji berries and then you're eating some GMO whatever else. Who knows what the interaction between the GMO and the spray and the goji berries is?
Yeah.
Who knows over long term that could be interacting with one another.
Huge.
You know?
And that's just food. You know, like then you're thinking water, your shower filter, your air filters. It's like you have to be a nutcase nowadays to jump through all the hoops that Big Brother has set up in order to be healthy.
And if you do that, people think you're nuts.
Yes. Yep.
If all you're trying to do is protect yourself from that.
Right.
So it's like the guy who's being, punched in a cage. If he puts his hands up to defend the punches, we label him as crazy.
Yeah. Yep.
So what he should do is just open himself up and just get punched all day long.
Yeah.
Because that's what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Isn't that weird?
It's like, we're trained to want to be, I don't know, it's like a weird thing. Yeah, it's so I've always, I just kind of tried to be on my own path and knowing that without trying to be too ostracizing, I remember going back home to Minnesota and making everybody feel weird, because my dad didn't even like to eat food around me anymore.
I've had that too.
Yeah, now it's much better, because I've loosened up and everything, and I will even eat I'll eat some of the stuff, like just to make them feel better, know.
Right.
But actually, no, it's really cool now because my mom, she volunteers at a farmer's market.
Okay.
And it's one of these like where it's like they consolidate everything on Wednesday, and then you come and just buy it. You pre-order or something.
Okay.
You just buy your pre-orders, and so now like all the meat in the house is grass-fed.
Oh, cool.
And so whenever we have burgers and stuff, it'll be that, and then I'll just go and get grass-fed butter when I visit, and just kind of replace it,
Yeah.
Because for them, it's still about the money, like
Is
they
it?
Just don't want to spend that extra amount, you know.
All our money goes to food.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't spend anything on really just bills and food.
Yeah.
It all goes, you know what it's like.
Yeah.
It's crazy, right? You leave the store, wherever your co-op or anything, you spend $400 or $500
Yeah.
on food.
Yeah, that's why I forage.
Dumpster dive is where it's at.
Yeah, man, oh man. And I got myself a fruit picker, one of those like orange claw fruit pickers.
Yeah.
One of my hobbies this summer was just drive around the alleyways of, Mar Vista, Venice, Santa Monica, and just look for avocados hanging over the fence,
Nice.
oranges. And I would, I'd bring back a lot of stuff. And for quite a while, besides my leafy greens and my animal products, I had avocados, oranges, prickly pear juice, white sapote, aloe vera. I was making a pretty good go of it,
That's pretty awesome.
And I don't know, I feel so good about that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's physiological as well, but even just on a mental level, like psychosomatic, I just feel so damn good about foraging, preparing, feeding my loved ones. I went to a pool party and I brought a gallon of that juice to the pool party. It's like, and you're seeing like all these cool people drinking prickly pear juice.
And that has never been through their body, ever. Isn't that crazy?
I had to warn them all. I was like, be little, you might have a reaction, because actually when I lived in Arizona, I was foraging in 2011. It was a different species, smaller red. I drank the same amount, a quart, and I don't know what it was, but I was holed up in bed for about 24 hours with chills and sore kidneys.
From
that. And then I even read online, like they say prickly pear is very cooling. And I don't know. So I was very, worried when I got this stuff. I did a pint. I did like a kombucha bottle. Felt it out, felt good. And then I started working my way up and was drinking even a gallon a day of that stuff. So it's a safer variety, I guess, or maybe it's not as condensed. But it's always fun to experiment.
The thing that I think is interesting about what you're doing and just the stuff that we're both into is this sort of connection that you have with your food. And that connection, it's that combined with a positive self-image that someone needs to have about themselves in order to want to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, as you know, really just abuse themselves, right? And they just don't care. So this idea of having a positive mental image of yourself and who you are, what you're doing here on this planet, and what your mission is, and wanting to take care of your temple.
Yeah,
that has to be there. And then also, it's cool to be able to have that desire to be in the whole process of growing your own food and harvesting it and working with it. And those two things, it's weird because we both have that. But where's the breakdown? What happens? Is it because people are on this they know they're doing something with their life they shouldn't be doing, and then they eat a diet that sort of supports that path that they took that they know they shouldn't, like McDonald's and eating all this food that sort of supports that same sort of negative path that they're on. And that's why they don't have a positive self-image. So why would they then want to be involved in the cycle of creating their own food? Those two things seem like they have to be solved for people. But it's almost not about the food. It's more of like an image that they have of themselves. And it becomes, that's where the whole food piece becomes so spiritual. You know, it's weird, but it's true. Like for me, when I started eating better, my mind opened up. I started thinking about things in a new way. I started watching the Anthony Anderson show in New York, talking about Bitcoin and all kinds of
episodes.
You know, but you start watching all this stuff and you start becoming open to ideas. And then those ideas are like little seeds that open up new passageways in your mind, and you start getting inspired. And this whole thing becomes a snowball. And then all of a sudden, 5 years later, you're like, what the hell happened to me? I was a corporate guy working and selling. We just talked to someone the other day. This lady works for Learn the Risk, I think it's called, or Know the Risk, or something of pharmaceutical meds. And she was a former Merck employee, sold Vioxx to people that was killing people, increasing the risk of stroke by like triple, and heart attacks, killing people. Eventually, Vioxx was taken off the market, but now she's just anti-vaxxer, just fully just in that world of anti-pharmaceuticals. But when you start feeding yourself better, I know at least for me, it starts opening your mind a little bit. I don't know if it's like all the David Wolf stuff with the minerals and the synapses and all this etheric, maybe that stuff's going on, but all I know is that, man, my world just opened up. Maybe it corresponded with the whole YouTube explosion. Then you can start researching things.
That's cool too.
You know,
I don't know. It's weird. You could almost compare it to an opening that occurs with psychedelics or marijuana.
Doesn't it seem similar?
Yeah, just it gets you out of your ego, gets you thinking about things, deeper questions that were never asked before. And yeah, like what you said about David Wolf. I mean, he always said once you get all the minerals going, blockages are removed, you know? I remember the whole thing about the ocean grown wheatgrass. And if you can get like those 89 or 90, low 90 minerals that you were always supposed to have, because we are from the ocean originally and all these things. And if you can just tap into that, the keys start turning, you know, and the doors open. But but
it's similar to psychedelics in a sense, but I guess it's just more, it's slower. It's like drip fed, longer. More subtle, right?
And you have to stick with it. I always remembered, like, this was a interesting thing with me in New York, because I had just moved there, and I lived in Paris a little bit, but I was mostly from Minnesota. So I hadn't really, I had never tried falafel before. I never, a lot of different things that I wanted to try, but I'd already been into the raw food and, all this timing. Geez, and I just wanted to try and I was so strict with myself that maybe every 2 weeks I would go to like a buffet, because I was kind of an overeater. I think that's why I like raw food too. I could just eat so much of it.
Just gorge yourself.
And my reaction was so bad to the salt, and I'm sure there was MSG in it. And again, I wasn't like going out to a health food restaurant and eating, because that would have cost me like $100. Like I went to a $10 buffet, and then I'd get bloated, and then I developed a mild case of bulimia for about a year and a half.
Oh wow!
Yeah, because it would react so much, the salt and everything. So I started to I was like, maybe if I just do it once every 2 weeks, and actually it kind of started by necessity, because my body couldn't take it, the food, so I would almost just have to vomit, and then I was like,
well, plus you had the whole modeling thing where your body has to look a certain way,
right? And because of the salt and everything, and even if I wasn't gaining a lot of weight, it would just show, and I'd be like, oh God. And then that's why I was living in New York. I was living in this city that I wasn't fond of really, but I was trying to make money as a model. And here I am, like falling off the wagon, going to a sushi buffet. And then I come to a casting looking like I partied all night, because I went to a sushi buffet. I look like I've been drinking all night long. How crazy is that? Yeah, I was like, this is nuts, So I developed that for a little bit, and it was kind of a low time in my life, but I learned a lot from it, and I learned to go with quality, like if you're going to eat desserts, buy like good, organic stuff, and you're not going to have these problems as much.
Right.
But it was just this weird thing, and I'm trying to make it all work, and just, it was definitely a low time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fascinating though too, how food, I laugh inside when I see people on TV and it's all about just losing a couple pounds and 5 pounds. And I get it. And people are overweight and they want to lose weight. And that's a good inroad, I think, to all of this stuff. But for me, it was much more of a spiritual journey.
Yeah.
The whole food piece, because I was coming out of, I wasn't raised religious, but in 2000 or in high school, the last 2 years of high school, and then probably 3 or 4 years after that, hyper religious, like super into like Calvary Chapel and all of that kind of thing. And that just changes your view of everything, right? And so I was in that willingly. It wasn't anyone forcing that on me, but so I was coming out of that, but then I was, and I think I consider that to be some kind of a cult, at least a small way. And so the food just opened up my mind, and I never wanted it to. I never tried. I just got hooked into. One night I was, a friend gave me a book called Fit for Life. Do you ever read that one?
I've heard of it.
But primarily about food combining.
It's a couple?
Yeah. I forget what their names are.
Yeah.
But so I read that, and then that made sense to me. And then I got hooked in. I always had seen, what's his name? What's that guy's name? Jay Kordich?
Oh, sure.
The juice man?
Yeah.
And so I was into his stuff a little bit, and I was kind of I didn't really know which direction to go, and I turned on Coast to Coast one night, and our buddy David Wolf was on there, and that just changed everything, because at that time he had the best day ever.
Yeah.
And then I got hooked into that, and then it was like, okay, now I'm just like a bottle rocket, Were you involved in that site too?
No, but I definitely knew about it. Yeah. I remember. Does it still exist?
Yeah.
He still interviews people, or?
I don't think he interviews people,
or
but I think
Rebecca's brother was doing it.
Yeah, Rebecca's brother Lucian.
Lucian. Yeah, Lucian.
He's really good. I like him.
Yeah,
and I still listen to his stuff. Like, I still love it.
I did an interview, because before the longevity conference with the Blackbird Natural Seeds, he interviewed us. Yeah.
Oh, no way. Lucian did?
Yeah, Lucian did.
In person, or was it?
It was over the phone.
Okay.
Yeah, and but that was the thing. Like, once I started listening to David Wolf, and whoa, it just, the way that guy talks, like, I don't know, just I didn't even know what he looked like yet, but I was listening to the audio, and then
captivating, right?
Yeah, and I got some books. I got Naked Chocolate, and I got Sun Food, and he was signing books at the Columbus Circle Whole Foods, and there was nobody on planet Earth that I wanted to meet more than David Wolf. I was almost shaking. Like, he was sitting there signing. I was like, oh my God, can you sign this? And
he and all his hair.
Yeah, I was just, whoa, I was so enamored with this dude. And I still am, there's a lot of stuff I look up to him for. I really admire Daniel Vitalis' approach.
Yeah, me too.
I think he took it a little more in the direction I relate with, but
there's something about David's energy, though. It's really, really awesome.
David was the one that talked about growing food. You want to take it to the next level, you got to grow your own food. He's got a good video. Someone filmed him. It's called David Wolf's Vision of Paradise.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Isn't that good?
Yeah. That hit me, So I got into Best Day Ever, started hearing about ocean-grown wheatgrass, started growing stuff on my balcony in New York City.
Okay.
I had a little kale section, I had a wheatgrass section, sunflower sprouts, and took it from there, and then I ended up getting that piece of land, started planting the trees in 2008, and from then on out, it's kind of been, a enjoyable rabbit hole for sure.
I remember you posted a picture somewhere, I forget, but you were saying that, like, this isn't anything new for me, because you showed a picture of yourself as a kid, right? Like, growing
that was an anomaly. Yeah, somehow my parents bought a citrus tree, and they took a photo of me planting it. But that was a little snippet. I hadn't thought about it again until I was in my early 20s.
And then you realize, oh wow, there's a picture that, like, that's how I got into it.
Yeah. They're like, check out this photo. It's like you're planting a fruit tree in the backyard. And I would love to see what that tree looks like now.
I wonder if it's still there.
If it's irrigated.
Is it on your parents' property?
No, that was back in Phoenix.
Oh.
Yeah. So I lived in Phoenix
as a kid?
As a kid, yeah.
Oh.
Age 5 to 15.
Okay.
And I have 2 twin sisters. They're younger than me, 2 years. And so by the time I was getting into high school, my parents thought that it was probably best to get out of Arizona.
Because there's kind of a bad vibe?
Yeah, they were watching the news a lot and gangs and stuff. So we moved back to Minnesota, a town of like 10,000 people. Super white, pretty boring, but it was safer, I guess,
Yeah.
And then, it was a good way to kind of feel out both ways. But
so from like 15 to 20, you were in, or 18, you were
onwards was in Minnesota. Yeah, but then by the time I was 22, I finished college and then started traveling again.
Okay.
But then what was cool is I ended up moving back to Phoenix for 1 year with the Blackbird people.
Okay.
And then it was cool. I got to see everything again and working, planting trees in the desert, and it's very difficult.
Yeah.
They really need a lot of help unless you're growing stuff that's acclimated. That's why I like prickly pear, mesquite. There's something, pomegranate, fig. You can get away with a lot more than trying to make an avocado grow in Phoenix or a mango.
Yeah, it's different.
It's different, yeah.
We went to an event. Are you familiar with the Jing Slingers?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Yeah, they're cool people. So we went to one of their events, and we're walking back to our car, and David Wolf was there, and he was walking back to his car, and we got to talking to him, and then he's like, dude, I need to give you some saguaro cactus?
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay, so he went and picked all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so we're standing out in the dark, and he's handing us all these like saguaro cactuses, and it was just like, wow, what a crazy. It was sort of like the same, with the book signing. He had been on our show a couple times before that, but it's just different, when you interview someone over the phone, they forget, you forget, and stuff like that. But it was super cool to see him in person. And then there's a farm just down the road here where they had this not open house, but some sort of event going on, and there's a whole farm there, and so my wife and I were there, and I look over and I see that curly head of hair of his, and he walks in, and so it was funny because we got to talking there, and we ended up watching the UFC fight at his cousin's house and that night. And so we all were hanging out together. It was just so weird. Like, here's a guy that I sort of learned everything from. Yeah. And here I am watching the UFC fight with him. And, it's like such a weird world, Yeah. I think we ran into him like 3 times in 2 days or something. It was weird.
Yeah.
But, I like his energy. He's really cool.
Yeah, me too.
So I'm curious with your vision with Grow Paradise and what you would like to see. Is it the type of thing where you'd like to start working with individual people growing food in their own backyards, or with people like schools and stuff teaching kids, or is this sort of it's meshed together? It's kind of a common vision.
Yeah, it's meshed. And, I'd always been doing it for private individuals. It's always any opportunity to take a photo of you planting a tree and post it online is like a good opportunity for me. So I would do it for friends and family. And then some schools started opening up. Like there was the Cape Town one, there was the Miami school. I was doing some stuff in Europe. And then I was doing some private clients in New York City, and then Hawaii. And then I came to Los Angeles. Okay. And so the tricky thing was, when I was living in New York, I never had a vehicle. So I couldn't really I'd have to rent a car and go do some stuff, pick up bags. And it's just a big pain, Yeah. So now that I was living here, I had my Volkswagen Passat, and I used that as like my pickup truck. Okay. So I was able to go around, and I started a small landscaping business kind of out of thin air. It was pretty cool, because I connected with the California rare fruit growers, and then got some clients out of that. And then just started doing some workshops and getting some more clients. And so there is that aspect of it, but I always like to do the bigger projects, And then so we do the retreats on the Big Island, or we do the retreats anywhere, but it's always been on the Big Island. And we like to incorporate that feeling where we're planting trees together. Maybe visit we visit organic farms, or people that are really doing it. They're making a living from it. So I try this kind of all-encompassing, holistic activity where it all kind of goes into this idea of you can grow your own paradise. And I always thought it was about the food, and it is. But I was a little limited with my vegan approach. And I realized to really get down to it, it's all about growing our own, or just producing our own, whether it's you're raising chickens or carrots, it doesn't matter. But as long as you're putting your own energy into it, and then taking that vision, expanding it out to your neighborhoods, and doing it online, and that's really where the power is. And, basically I feel like the meaning of life on this planet, at least for humans, for conscious humans, is to literally create paradise with your trees, with everything, and make it a paradise planet for the descendants. So it's, it sounds like a real lofty thing, but it's also so hands-on and easy. Like I started my food forest in Minnesota 2008, and there's trees now that are 15, 20 feet tall.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, there's the crab apples. For some reason, those crab apples grow really fast.
Wow.
And, tons of apples, tons of plums, pears. It's all there, and that was only 2008. And that was me doing it by myself,
And how long, if it's 2008, I mean, I'm sure it's been that way for a few years.
Yeah.
So from 2008 to 2010 or 12, was it fully grown like it is now?
I'd say about by 2012, after year 4, it was
4 years is nothing.
Yeah, it was fine. And I was buying trees. I made a mistake of buying a lot of trees online first because I wasn't sure, and I saw some varieties that I liked online, so I ordered them, but they were shipping them bare root.
What does that mean?
So they're dormant, so they've lost their leaves.
Okay.
Over the winter, and at that point, you can dig them up and transplant them, as long as the roots stay moist.
Okay.
They're technically sleeping.
So they're sort of keeping the roots moist in transit.
Yeah, they'll wrap them in jelly or wet newspaper.
Okay.
And then you'll just plant it in the ground, keep it moist, and then it should just awaken in its new spot.
In the springtime.
But I was spending a lot of money on these varieties, and they're a little bit smaller. And then I realized if I just go to a local nursery, I can buy a really good-sized tree. And if I wait until July or August, I can usually get it for 40% off.
Okay.
Because by the time that late summer's come in, no one's buying trees. So I could buy, 5 or 6 nice trees for like $150, and then just
for all those trees.
Yeah.
How big were the trees?
Oh, they were in 15-gallon pots, so they were probably 6-7 feet tall.
Oh my gosh.
They're a good height, and I would just put them in the back of my dad's pickup truck.
Dude, that's a steal.
Yeah,
$150 for that amount of trees.
50% off,
And that's good, even if it's $300.
Yeah.
I mean, considering if you let those grow and you cultivate them.
Oh yeah.
Dude, a lemon at the grocery store is $1 a lemon right now.
Exactly.
That's insane.
Yeah, organic apple, all that stuff. And so I was thinking, yeah, it's definitely worth the extra, if it is even extra, to get the bigger tree, speed it up, as long as it's not root bound. That's one of the things. Like if a tree has been in a container for too long, the roots are starting to wrap around the inside. So you almost have to take a knife and just score it.
Score what? The
roots. Yeah, so once you take it out of the pot, you're going to see all those roots on the outside.
Okay, stuck to the soil, the dried soil kind of, right?
Like they want to go out, but then they hit the container, so then they just keep wrapping.
Okay.
So at that point, once it's out, you just take a knife and just score it all.
Why do you do that?
So it encourages the roots to go out again.
But wouldn't you be killing the roots?
A little bit, but it's kind of, you have to almost. Because you have to encourage them to now go out. And there's so many roots on the inside that you're not touching. You're just getting the exterior and then letting them go out. Yeah.
Okay.
And then also a good tip is to take some of the leaves off, or even cut some of the branches off, and it's not as stressful for the tree.
Cut some of the leaves off or branches before you take it out of the pot and replant it?
Just as you're planting it,
Okay.
Like after you put it in the ground, just snip off some of it.
Okay, just sort of prune it then.
Yeah.
Okay.
And to relieve the pressure on the roots, to pump up all that stuff to supply.
Okay.
And there's a nursery called Dave Wilson Nursery, and they recommend even after you plant your tree, cut it in half. Like really top it off. That way,
actually cut the tree in half.
Yeah,
just cut off the whole top half of it.
Yeah, really top it heavy. That way, when it starts to grow back, you're going to have more of a dwarf, so it's easier to grow, and there's less demand on the roots. For those
because they don't need
months.
to produce so much minerals and things for something that's not there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And there's a well-known permaculture guy named Sepp Holzer, Seppholzer. He's from Austria. And he recommends, almost taking all the leaves off of a tree after you plant it.
Okay.
So it looks bad for a little while, but then there's no pressure on the roots. It can kind of go to sleep for a little bit. The roots can reacclimate, and then the new leaves will come out again.
Dude, I'm gonna ask you some questions here that are gonna put people in the analysis. Was it paralysis by analysis?
Yeah.
So what is the deal? Now I'm just thinking if people are listening to this, it's probably best just to ignore this. But there is something about planting a tree, isn't there? By the cycle of the moon, or there's a certain type of year.
Yeah.
What's all that about?
Well, there's a lot of the biodynamic stuff, like Rudolf Steiner. He created this biodynamic method of growing, and it has to do a lot with the moon and the stars, and especially compost tea.
Okay.
So you're using different plants that represent different planets, and it's kind of easy now because you can just buy the prepared biodynamic compost and make your own foliar feed.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of stuff with like the moon and the cycles. You can get the calendar.
But that kind of, it makes it confusing, right?
It can. I think it can
I mean, it's good that you know it, but if you're just starting out, it's kind of, you probably want to just, like you said, just start planting.
Yeah. And I probably still, even though I know about biodynamics, I still have to open up that calendar and see, what makes sense. If I can plant it on a root day or a fruit day or a leaf day. It's like,
do you follow it at all? Do you do
that? I don't. I like to plant trees on cloudy days, and especially in the late afternoon. I don't like to plant stuff when it's sunny out because it's just too much. It's very stressful. Yeah. They don't like it. They like it, on an overcast day, at least for the first couple days.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So if I'm planting stuff, I like to plant like at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. or on a cloudy day. And that gives them at least 12 hours of just a little bit of...
Why wouldn't you plant at night?
If you have the headlamp, sure.
You could do that?
Yeah.
So I remember you for this client that you had, I think you said before the show, it was on your blog at one point in Aliso Viejo or somewhere around here, Laguna Beach. Mm-hmm. You went down to, I think you said Vista to get a bunch of semi-mature avocado trees.
It was Exotica Nursery in Vista, California.
Okay.
What did Martin get? He got a lot of stone fruits. He got some figs. He got some apples. But and then he got hardy kiwis on the side. But I don't think he got anything at Exotica except maybe like I think one of the hardy kiwis he got there. But otherwise, we went to this other one inland a little bit more. But that's a great nursery. They don't have a website, but if you're down in Southern California near Carlsbad or Vista, north of San Diego, it's a great place to visit.
Avocados is just massive down there, huh?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Everyone's growing them.
Yeah.
So how would someone know, like, if they want to start? Like, I'm just thinking of myself because we finally have a little backyard now, and I'm thinking, okay, we eat a lot of avocados. Mm-hmm. I don't really eat apples other than the green ones to juice. Yeah, like we'll juice a half an apple kind of thing. Yeah, just for some sweetness. But we like the green ones because they're less sugar. Carrots, cucumbers, stuff like that. Like, where does someone start and how do they know? Like, would they just buy all those trees from a farm and then just plant them and start going, or?
Well, you want to check check your area first, kind of see obviously where the sun is. They call it the aspect of the land, how everything's situated.
Okay.
Where, what your microclimates are like. If a person has a large yard, they might have 4 different microclimates. So this shady area is going to grow, currants and gooseberries, and this sunny area is going to be avocados, and so looking for all your microclimates and then making sure the soil is nice. I almost like to pretend that I'm growing on top of pavement and just add more soil on, instead of, you could always do soil tests and everything, but I like to add just like a foot of thick compost and then make maybe like a 6-foot diameter circle for each tree.
Okay.
And then plant it right in the middle.
So would you dig a hole and then put it all in there, or?
A little bit, but not too much. I kind of actually just it's like a raised, like a raised circle. And the tree's right in the middle, but you go a little bit under, so you're kind of mixing the native.
Okay.
And then all that stuff will just, kind of ooze into the soil.
Oh, eventually slowly. Just levels out.
Yeah. Or even it might keep its shape, but just the nutrients will start to leach down into it.
Okay.
And then most of the feeder roots of fruit trees are on the top. So especially like figs and all those things, apples, all the good stuff has to be on the surface. So things that'll keep it alive will be going down into the deep ground, but stuff that's going to be showing your flowers and fruit will usually be on the surface. So that's why it's really important to always mulch, always make sure there's a lot of worms going on, and then just find out, like what your site looks like. And
so if someone were wanting to get involved that knows a little bit about what we know, there's the idea of like compost tea, there's regular just composting people can do with their scraps of vegetables and fruits. What else is there? There's rock dust, there's ocean minerals.
Yep.
Where do you start? Like, how do you know? Because there's all those things, but then we're talking to someone, this guy named Evan Folds out in I think he's in North Carolina, and he does a lot of work with this compost tea.
Okay.
And then he was talking about the acidity of the soil, and it just became like, wow, okay, I know of all these sort of accoutrements you can add to the soil, like all that stuff, but then, you know, do you do it all in a tree, and then at some point you realize, wow, that's too acidic soil, or you know what I mean? Like, how do you know which ones of those to put in?
Yeah, I mean, it's like each tree is kind of like you almost see them as like a person, you know, like that friend likes acidic soil and they like sunshine, and they so you kind of know like, oh, that avo is whatever, the blueberry like the acidity. So that's an important thing, you know, like if you get your soil pH down, and most soils are fairly neutral, you know, unless it's really wet soil, then it's going to be acidic, and very dry soil is usually alkaline. So you'll actually see some alkaline soils out here, because it's kind of deserty, you know. Like
dry is more alkaline.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like goji berries grow really well in alkaline soil, like 8 or 8.5. Yeah, it's weird.
Same with probably cactus too, right?
Probably.
Same way?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so, yeah, I kind of lost track of thought there.
No, I'm just curious with all these different things. Like for me, I don't know much. I would just buy it all and put it all in.
Sure. And that's probably good.
Yeah. I might kill a tree or two though.
You know, I kind of like to go light on it. Maybe do everything, but kind of go a little bit light.
Okay.
Unless you know exactly what the protocol is. And then sometimes it's like I might have a jug of kelp liquid here to use. I might have this or that. And something's better than nothing, you know, and I'll just kind of add it all in. The foliar sprays are huge.
What is that?
That's if like I'll put it all in a backpack. I'll do like a 4-gallon backpack sprayer.
Okay.
And I'll do an ounce of kelp. I'll do an ounce of compost, like a compost liquid. Just 1 ounce.
Okay.
Actually, no, 1 ounce for every gallon. Sorry.
But what do you mean an ounce of kelp? Because kelp is usually like a dried.
Yeah, you can buy a bottled kelp liquid or kelp extract.
Where do you get that?
Any health, not health food store, like a grower store, even like the hydroponic stores, or they'll sell, or online.
So you just put an ounce of that in
for every gallon. An ounce of apple cider vinegar.
Okay.
It's called Garrett juice. It's a certain blend, Garrett, I believe.
Of apple cider vinegar?
This blend. So he does.
Oh, that includes all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's got the apple cider vinegar, the kelp, the compost tea, and molasses.
Oh, okay.
An ounce of each for every gallon. And then mix it up. You can do the biodynamic swirls where you do like 1 hour or this way, then that way. I mean, really oxygenate it and intention stuff. You know? If you don't have the time for it, it's probably still okay. And then do the foliar feeds. And there's a really awesome book called The Holistic Orchard by a man named Michael Phillips. And he really gets into the foliar feeds. And he says that's one of the key things. And one of his favorite ingredients is fish emulsion mixed with neem oil.
Really?
And, yeah, because he says the essential fatty acids in the fish are really good. And then the neem has this some sort of active ingredient that will dissolve the shell of burrowing insects or other kind of insects that cause problems.
Yeah, neem's really powerful.
Neem's awesome, yeah.
So you would, spray this on the actual leaves and stuff?
Yep, spray it on the leaves, spray it on the trunk, you know, even spray it on the ground, just you know, douse them in it.
If you were to have this spray, is it something where you would make it and then you could put it somewhere and then 3 weeks later do it again, or do you have to use all of it each time you make it?
I usually do it as I make it, but you probably could. I mean, they sell the pre-made mix that you just add to water.
Okay.
You know, so no, I've always had pretty good success with that. And then if you do the neem, it's an oil, so you have to use a drop or two of Bronner's or like organic soap to break apart the oil.
Oh, really?
As a surfactant, yeah. And then a little bit of warm water so it doesn't coagulate.
Interesting.
And then you spray that on, and yeah, I'm friends with a coffee grower in Kona, and he was spraying it, the neem oil, and the neighbors were like, "What the heck are you using this stuff? Like your leaves look so healthy."
No bugs, no
bugs, you know. But he's like, "Oh, it's such a pain in the butt. Like I gotta warm the water up. I gotta da." I was like, "Come on, man, just."
It's not that bad,
dude. I love it. Like I just walk around, like just spraying everything, you know, and
wow,
yeah.
So you would do that? How often would you do that? Just whenever you need to, or is kind of an ongoing thing, like an immune system deal?
I don't know. I did a lot. It was kind of one of my hobbies in Hawaii. You know, I just walk around the property, just giving love, but I probably overdid it, or maybe I wasted it, but it's all nutrients, and one of the big keys is doing it at sunrise or sunset, because that's when the stomata of the leaves open up.
Oh, right.
With the bird song. And there's a product called Sonic Bloom.
I was just going to ask you about that.
Yeah. I think about my friend Jake. His handle is Raw Utah.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And
guy.
We made a video. Well, he had the Sonic Bloom, and it was all whistling and like all this like fairy tale stuff, and it's got this like hyper like.
Oh really?
But then there's also like whistling, and he's just spraying it, and we're all barefoot, and oh man, and it works. I tell you, it works. Yeah, it really does. So, and you can get away with crappy soil if you're doing foliar feeding. Maybe for a while, like it's going to help because the leaves are absorbing those nutrients right away. It's going right into the leaves, even into the crevices of the bark and everything. It's got to be good. And they say like if you can do that for a year or two, you give them such a good head start. The trees.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so I really love the foliar spray.
So now what if people are listening to this and they're like, well, I don't have a water filter. I've just got hose water. What do you say to that?
Well, I would say with the hose water, leave it out in the sun, fill a bucket up, let it sit out in the sun so at least the chlorine can dissipate.
Okay, yeah.
Because then the chlorine will come off because you don't want it to kill any of the good bacteria in your compost tea, for instance.
I see.
You'd still have the fluoride, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But, obviously the plants are still growing with the fluoride. All the irrigation water in California, a lot of it's probably fluoridated.
Yeah, right.
Which is really just weird, but the plants are still growing somehow.
And people don't realize organic food is grown with irrigated or with
fluoridated water.
Yeah, municipal water. It's crazy.
Not cool.
So you would let it sit out for a little while.
Yeah, let the chlorine dissipate.
How long would that take, do you think?
I think they usually say a day. And if it's sitting out in the sun, even less, maybe a couple hours. But
oh, really?
I would check online just to make sure. And then just add it into the thing. And you could even do a spray bottle if you don't want to buy it. The backpack sprayer is maybe $80.
Okay.
And it is nice. Compared to like the hand pump ones.
Are those just a hassle?
It's kind of, especially if you have a large amount of, things. And then I know some people that they hook up one of these pumps to their actual hose, their spray hose.
Okay.
And they've got like a 55-gallon drum of this mix. And then they hook up the pump to their spray hose and just spray everything with the spray hose. Yeah.
That would be super fast.
They bring the thing along on a cart, and just keep spraying stuff. Because I got 4 gallons on me and they've got 55 in the drum. So it's, for a big application.
So if you're going to you want to get probably a whole house filter if you can.
Yeah, I would say.
And then you could use that water to water.
Yeah.
And then what are your thoughts on the ocean water?
Oh, I would dilute ocean water 10 times with rainwater or municipal. So you can always get the TDS meter.
Okay.
And the ideal reading is supposed to be about 1,500 parts per million. Okay. TDS stands for total dissolved solids. And so I would if you test regular ocean water, I think it comes in at like 35,000 parts per million.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, it's super salty. It actually depends on what part of the oceans you're testing from.
Okay.
I think like in the Caribbean, the salt levels are higher or something, but I do 10 to 1.
10 to 1.
10 to 1, and then that would just, slightly salty. 10 parts fresh water, 1 part salt water.
Okay.
And then just spray it down. Yeah.
Could you use that to spray it down or use that to just water the soil too?
You could do both. Yeah.
You could do both.
Yeah. I was doing that for all my sprouting, and
because sprouts would pick up so many minerals, wouldn't they?
But I wasn't doing fresh ocean water, if I remember. I did actually a little bit when I was living in California. I lived in Venice in 2011, but most of the time I would just take pink Himalayan and keep adding it until it said 1,500 parts per million, and then I would just water the sprouts.
Okay.
And you could taste it. You could taste the slight saltiness in the wheatgrass.
So it's like a Soleil kind of thing.
Yeah. Yep. Interesting.
Okay, because you can buy, there's outfits out there that sell gallons of they go 50 feet or 1,500 feet or whatever.
Yeah. It's $100 a gallon, I thought, some of that stuff. And I did buy a gallon once, and the wheatgrass was amazing. But then I just started using the pink Himalayan and making my own.
How much would you put? I wonder how much, how much would you put into a gallon of water?
Maybe a tablespoon.
At the end of the day, you just kind of map it out.
Yeah.
So would you want to do that because we've heard about rock dust too.
Yeah.
And is that something you'd want to do as well?
Absolutely.
I mean, why not give it everything, right?
Right, totally.
Yeah.
But then rock dust doesn't have the sodium, which is okay, which is fine. You know, like for some reason, sea salt, for some reason, sea salt has a lot of sodium.
Right.
And so it can salinate the soil too much. But rock dust has that, you know, magic something. It doesn't have that potential.
Dude, here's my dream. I want to be able to, I think this would be the most awesome thing, is to, you know, because we juice a lot, right? So I want to be able to get one of those, you know, those super expensive Norwalk juicers.
Yeah.
Those things are like $3,000 or something.
Hydraulic.
So I want to have like a backyard full of the stuff that we juice, pick it and juice it right away, and then make it with one of those juicers.
Yeah.
You know, and because a lot of times, like if you get cucumber from the store, it's not only is it not grown this way, but it's probably not fresh either because it's been picked like months before, right?
Yeah.
So you get this freshness factor that gets lost. But if you're doing a juice like that, like think about how powerful that would be.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've had many of them.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's that was a cool thing about Hawaii, where you just go for your morning walk and get your ingredients and just go back to the house with your bag and just juice it all.
How cool is that, man?
Yeah, it's like the passion fruits just growing on the side of the road, like little yellow eggs. You just pick them up and get the nonis, you know, find a couple mangoes, papayas, and yeah.
I mean, there's something different because you're getting so many minerals. I really think it's about the minerals too.
Yeah.
It's huge. The electrical charge
Yeah.
in your body, the ability for your cells to communicate through the mineralization and all that. Man, that's huge. So your place in LA now, do you have a place where you grow personally your own stuff?
No.
Well,
luckily, my friend who I work with, he lives up in Malibu. He's the chair of the California Rare Fruit Growers. I kind of use his spot as my little nursery. So I've got all my white sapote seedlings there. All my passion fruit stuff. I brought some Rollinia seedlings. So that I kind of use that as my space.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, but I'm probably going to be going back to Hawaii within the next 2 months.
Are you going to live there?
I'm going to be setting up there because
That's
I feel like I've kind of been 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and it's just resulted in kind of, I don't know, a lot of chaos. So I really want to dig deep and put some roots down there and start doing projects.
On the Big Island?
On the Big Island.
Wow, that is so cool, dude.
Both coasts of the Big Island are cool. I started, all my friends were mostly in the Puna area, which is south of Hilo, 45 minutes. There's an area called the Red Road, and it's along the coast. Amazing. I mean, really, it's very special. No power lines. Everybody's off grid. But it's still like a nicely paved jungle road right along the coastline, and a really cool community. Tons of like communes and yoga centers, and it's almost like a decentralized eco village, you know, because people come together at the farmers markets, and really special spot. But then I transferred over. I had a photographer friend that came over a year ago, and he wanted to do some shots. So we went to the Kona side, and we stayed at a place called Whale Song Sanctuary. And I mean, wow! I always knew. I mean, we would drive over to Kona. It's cool, you know. You see a lot more. It's nice because of the coffee growers. You see a lot more avocado and mango there, and actually the soil's a little bit better. I mean, because it's more dry, it's more rocky. It drains. Avocados don't like wet soil. So you're seeing like these monster avocados, you know, like 4-pound avocados.
Whoa.
4 pounds.
Seriously?
Seriously.
Are those ones with the huge big pits?
Not too big. I mean, they're okay, but monster. And they're creamy. Yeah. And it's just, wow.
Man, that's like that. Those avocados saved me. I lived on those things.
We would fill a punch bowl of guacamole every day. We would make a punch bowl. We'd pick like 5 or 6 of those, whatever, and just make this huge punch bowl. And like for this, not the last retreat, but the one before we did, I mean, everybody was getting,
wow.
I mean, too much guacamole. They made it like a theme song, and it was like too much guacamole. It was that. We were making key lime pie. We were making chocolate mousse. It was just like we were burning out on avocados. Like we just couldn't eat anymore. And so once we went over there, I was like, wow, this is a really special spot, you know, because you get the sunsets, you can swim with dolphins really easily. Oh man. There's a lot of sacred sites over there. Like a lot of the more of the settlements were over on that side. And it's just really beautiful. There's an ethno-botanical garden there, which is just plants that were brought over that were either native or the canoe crops, they call it. Oh. So not mango or avocado, but like taro, coconut, sweet potato, breadfruit.
Oh, wow.
Breadfruit's a huge one. They call it ulu. And I mean, you can eat it as a sweet fruit, but you usually cook it green as a potato.
Okay.
So you make French fries with it. You make pancakes with it. You make all kinds of stuff. Wow. I mean, the only other area, obviously Polynesia, but Jamaica has a large breadfruit culture.
Wow.
And it was actually brought there for the slave trade because it's such a powerful food that grows so easily. It produces so much food, so they knew it was for their workforce, and it's still, all those trees are still there, and it's a staple of the cuisine. But that was huge for me, like working with the taro and working with breadfruit.
Yeah.
And actually purple sweet potato, which is called uwala. And strangely enough, purple sweet potato it's always been known to come from South America.
Uh-huh.
And somehow it was found on the Hawaiian Islands when Captain Cook came.
Really? It was already there.
Already there. So it's like, how did sweet potato from South America get over to Hawaii?
Yeah.
What's the story?
So they still don't know?
They still don't know. There's
purple sweet potato. That sounds so interesting.
Yeah.
I love sweet potato.
Yeah. Oh man, the purple ones too. They're really good.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh man, they're awesome. We were making just like puddings out of it, and almost like an acai bowl, but with purple sweet potato. Yeah.
Because it's so versatile because you can make it savory or sweet, right?
Yep.
So it's pretty cool that way.
Yeah, purple sweet potato fries and all kinds of mashed potatoes. Really, really good. But I'm just always thinking about that. Like, how did those sweet potatoes get over there? Because there's that man named Thor Heyerdahl. He had that boat called the Kon-Tiki back in I don't know, probably 100 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And he proved that you could take a little raft and get all the way across the ocean without a motor, So he's from Norway or something.
What's his name? Thor, what is it?
Heyerdahl. Heyerdal.
Oh, interesting.
Thor Heyerdahl, yeah. And the boat was called the Kon-Tiki, Kontiki, 2 words.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean,
maybe that's how it happened.
Yeah, there was something going on. And actually, a little side note, on the BBC, there was a documentary, and this hasn't spoken about much, but they were finding African skeletons from 50,000 years ago in Brazil.
Say that again. African skeletons.
Skeletons from African descent.
In where? Brazil?
Brazil, from 50,000 years ago.
Whoa.
This is on the BBC. But then they showed that they were then getting replaced about 15,000 years ago by the Asiatic migration coming from Alaska down south.
Interesting.
They finally made their way down, and they were more violent, and they replaced the original African that were living there.
Wow.
But our story is that the people just came over the land bridge,
right,
and then came down the coastline and then populated. But there's evidence that they were already there. So they took a boat from Africa 50,000 years ago and came over to Brazil.
That's pretty nuts.
Pretty nuts.
I mean, think about that.
Pretty nuts. And humans are so smart, and they said like it was 110,000 years ago that we were anatomically equal. That was like kind of the number 110,000. And so like obviously the brain is that smart. You've got a lot of young people sitting on that coastline with nothing to do, besides just,
explore.
Forage, hang out. They're going to explore.
Yeah.
They're going to go along the coastline. They're going to go, so I'm sure they were finding that stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, even, I don't know, they're talking about like the Vikings discovering, Newfoundland 1,000 years ago, but it must have gone way deper than that. I mean,
yeah, I'm sure it did.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love that stuff. I love all that ancient Graham Hancock.
Oh, isn't this stuff great?
Yeah. Just, it's like, I don't know. Some people are like, who cares? Just live in the present moment. But I love to know like the whole story.
Yeah. It's so fascinating, man.
Yeah. Just where we came from, and, I don't hold any judgments. I just like to,
It's crazy to me because if you think about what those people were doing in order to have the courage to do that, or to build ancient structures and stuff like that. I mean, I feel like if you and I were to go back during that time, those people wouldn't even seem human. Mm-hmm. They would almost seem like some other kind of entity.
Yeah.
Because I mean, to get people to be so so locked in on one thing on their whole life.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's just like, you can't get 20 people to agree on something today for anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to get people to spend their whole lives doing these things. I mean, that's where I think like, it's cool when you find your mission, because if you don't know what your mission is, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of just taking the best thing that comes your way and like, okay, I get out of school, I want to be an actor, or I want to be a writer, or I want to do this or that, but a good job at the factory opens up for $100,000 and you're 22 years old. I mean, I can't blame someone for taking it, but man, that just it takes you off your road. You know? And those people back then, they knew what their mission was. And when you know what your mission is, life is like just amazing, you know?
Yeah.
It's just,
yeah, I think about that way of life, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I ended up, a little funny thing, I ended up eating a bunch of mushrooms once in Hawaii, and I was sitting on the coastline, like looking out at the ocean and just thinking about what it was like to live in a village with your loved ones, and, you know, everybody's just, no TV, no electricity, just be there, you know, and sitting by the campfire. And I was just yearning for that way of life, you know, and then kind of walking back from the beach, and you'd see some, like, you know, stuff, and hear a dog bark, and it's just kind of like, oh, you know, but I really yearned for that simplicity again, you know, and I don't know, it's very special.
Yeah, and being reconnected to the land and the earth. Yeah. There's something super invigorating. And I think you can find what your mission is more when you have that ability to have some time to reflect. And to sit in nature and be with nature.
Yeah, totally.
Be with yourself, not have your phone, not have to look down at something.
Yeah.
And just look out at the scenery, the earth, and just see and reflect. And I think that you can really start it's almost like a meditation almost. You can really start saying, okay, where am I going wrong in my life? When a good friend of mine, he always wanted to be not a botanist. What is it? The name's escaping me. Someone who studies like just like sea creatures and stuff.
Marine biologist?
Yeah, marine biologist. That's what he always wanted to do. But somehow he got skewed off, and he was doing like accounting, or he was working with computers and stuff. It's like, man, when you can get and separate yourself and get in with nature and start looking at the vastness, and you can start questioning where you are, you know what I mean? Without distraction. Yeah. It's so nice. Yeah. It's so nice.
One of my big awakenings was when I started to live in Paris, and it was the first time in my life I didn't really have a job. I didn't have a phone yet, you know. So this was like 2002, 2003. No, I had a Discman, but it didn't really work. I had to like pinch it to work. So I'm going on these castings in the city, and I have nothing but myself and silence. Wow. And that was when I started asking questions like, why do I believe what I believe? Why do I believe in, you know, this or afterlife, or that these people get to go to heaven, or these people don't get to go to heaven? And yeah, it was all it was the silence. It was like, if you give a person enough silence, I think they'll come to that conclusion. They'll at least ask themselves the questions. Yeah. But we're just we're soaked in the distractions, you know, and some of them are good, some of them are bad, but they're all distracting. And so it keeps us from getting a little deeper.
And it's hard because you have to carve out that time of silence.
Oh man, yeah. You know? You really have to make it a priority.
Yeah, it's
when
crazy.
When else are you going to get that, you know?
I know, because our lives are so busy. I mean, you're driving down here, and then I'm going to go do some stuff, and you're going to go do some stuff, and our life's so busy. Yesterday, I haven't meditated in, probably 2 or 3 months, because we just moved to this new place, and life's been just crazy, setting up the business, getting this whole place set up, and all this stuff. And I haven't had I guess I should say I haven't made I haven't carved out the time, but yesterday I did. And we did a show recently with, are you familiar with Dr. Jack Cruz?
No.
Oh gosh, dude, he's so amazing. Cool. Look at his stuff.
Okay.
And so he talks a lot about the mitochondria and light and genetic expression as a result of mitochondrial damage and things. And so he's talking a lot about blue light and electromagnetic radiation grounding and stuff, and magnetism. He's a neuroscientist or a neurosurgeon. So all during the week he's like doing brain surgeries on people. Fascinating guy. But he really changed like how I think about, you know, light and blue light and all this kind of stuff.
Blue light,
you know? It's crazy. So yesterday I'm like, okay, I'm going to meditate, you know, and it's just, so now I'm going to do it again today, but I'm doing it outside now and just being connected to the earth, you know, and it's like, I don't know. I think we've just lost that as a culture. And that's part of what you're doing, is bringing nature back into where people are living.
Yeah.
Is bringing the life force. I mean, we sustain ourselves based on the food that we grow and eat. Mm-hmm. And you're helping people bring that into their living environment, mm-hmm. and just reconnecting with whatever that is.
Yeah.
It's so important.
I think it's actually number one, because we're always surrounded by all this self-help and everything, but if our environment is kind of like purgatory-ish, kind of like, how are we ever expected to thrive? Because I feel like we've kind of found ourselves in this really mediocre. We can definitely do better, know, and how do you expect kids to? I don't know. You can read self-help until you're blue in the face, but if you have to walk around and see nasty graffiti and smell smog and all these things,
and come home to arguing neighbors and that kind of thing,
and then the food and everything, and then the television. So setting up the habitat is really huge, and then I feel like everything else falls into place, or at least you have a good foundation. But I think that's something that everybody misses. It's like, if you're not surrounded by alkalinity and good vibes, people that are happy, good luck,
I know, right?
Yeah.
We used to live in an apartment above our landlords, man, and I mean, you probably have dealt with stuff like this living in cities in New York and stuff like this, where we would just hear them arguing, just yelling at each other, and and it's like, I don't know what it was, but there's something about that causes, I don't know, maybe it's that whole idea of Rupert Sheldrake's morphogenic fields and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's affecting like the consciousness or the plasma energy that surround us all, or something, but they would literally be like yelling at each other all night long right below us. And we just moved. We were there for like 6 years, and we finally got out because this is like toxic.
All the way through.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was crazy. And so, we just had to get out of that place. Yeah. And we'd open up the windows and you'd hear them yelling. And it's like, man, I felt bad for them because, man, what sad lives. And I just feel like they couldn't get out. But then I felt like somehow it's affecting us in an energetic way.
It does.
And like what you're just saying with setting up your environment, whether it's home or work, to be a situation that perpetuates your growth. Mm-hmm. It's so huge.
It's huge.
Like,
I don't watch the news or anything like that, and I used to pride myself on being kind of informed, and now there's CNN that was playing in the lobby of the apartment, and three big screens playing CNN, and every time I'd walk by, it's like, oh god, like again, and I have to see the election. I think somebody complained because now it's like NBC's on instead, and so they don't show it. But
that's because obviously that's way better than CNN.
I know. It's like, but I can just I could feel it, and I always say, like, I just don't like that. It makes me feel icky now, and it's not serving me, So I did a big detox from media, and occasionally I would check something. Most of it's just Facebook, kind of. Like it was
social media stuff.
Yeah. And I swear, like, you're so much more empowered by ignoring it, because most of it is not that helpful. I feel it's just a bunch of bickering, and it's a really bad example of how to live, So I really like to keep my distance from that and just keep powering on with all this good stuff here. And then that's going to do with I don't know, the election stuff is just crazy. It's really interesting, but just thinking about all that.
That's part of the detox. I think you have to purge from your life.
Is. And it's almost like once you start eating the clean food, that stuff isn't for you. The media stuff's not for you. So, and then hanging around toxic people, and it just starts to feel a little off.
Right.
So it's like we become more sensitive. So I just started blocking that out, and then I would come home and visit my folks, and they'd be like, "Oh, blah blah," talking about the election, and they're both on the same side, So they'd be just bitching about this and that, and
about the other side together.
Yeah. It was like they're bonding.
It's a unified front.
Yeah, it was kind of keeps them tight, but they just like to complain about Donald Trump and just complain.
Yeah,
and they just yeah,
it's really challenging, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's part of like, it's just, I think it's just as important as bringing nature. And I mean, Daniel Vitalis talks a lot about that, rewilding your home and stuff like that. And that's essentially what you're doing. But it's just as important. It does you no good. I mean, who knows if it does you any good? I don't know. But I mean, you can't bring in nature and then still be watching the news.
Yeah,
in my mind,
it's not. Maybe it's a buffer for it for a while, but it just doesn't feel right, you know. And there's very little that I ever get from it when I end up having to watch it, and it just
stresses you out, right?
Yeah, it's just kind of icky energy, you know, kind of acidic energy. So the less the better, and then I try and just surround myself with positive people. And luckily, like with our, you know, like the health food, the permaculture, tree planting people, you just start having lots of cool friends that are positive. So you're not hearing about people's complaints all the time, you know?
Yeah.
It's cool. Yeah, that makes a big difference.
Super important.
Yeah.
So do you bring any plants into your house? Do you do that kind of stuff?
Oh, absolutely.
Like for cleaning the air and bringing in that kind of energy into the house?
Sure. In this, it's a very small studio, you know, and she doesn't really want bugs and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because
where you're at now.
Yeah, so I was bringing stuff in the car sometimes, like moving it back and forth, because this one, the guy in Malibu, I'd have to dig his trees up in Beverly Hills, the house that he got rid of, and then pot them and then bring them up to the new house.
Oh, okay.
That was one of the things. Really cool, but so sometimes like a spider would be. And then I swear one time there was a black widow in the car, and she didn't see it, but it would have been.
So you saw it and she didn't?
Yeah, she saw like a small one and was freaking out. And then I saw a black widow later. I was like, oh my gosh, there's black widows in here. So I try but I like it because obviously there's the air filtration and just the energy of the plants.
Yeah.
There's the mother-in-law's tongue. There's the Areca palm. That's Areca. The Areca palm. And then I think it's the money plant. There's 3 of them. There's a good TED Talk. There's a man in India, and they did a big program in this warehouse with these 3 different varieties. And I think the ratio was like 6 plants to every person for the exchange. Yes,
for the entire house.
Yeah, but they did it in a working warehouse.
Okay.
But in a home, so 6 to 1. For every human.
I wonder if that accounts for rooms or just the entire house. Probably just everything. Huh?
Yeah, because it would absorb your CO2 and then give out the fresh oxygen.
6 plants. So I guess if you had like a 3-bedroom home or something, you could just spread them out.
Yeah, you know, and so I like those mother-in-law tongues because they are shade plants. They don't need much, and the palms too. You just have to bring them out like once every couple months to get a little bit of sunshine, and then bring them back in. And then that's a good TED Talk. Wow. And it was, they did air tests, and it was just very, very clean, like extremely clean air
inside
in the warehouse.
Because they always say that being indoor air is the most toxic air that there is.
Yeah, and it was either in Mumbai or New Delhi. And it was just incredibly clean air without any filtration. Like
that's crazy because that place is super toxic with their air.
Yeah, it's a great TED Talk.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
So I do that, and for the filtration. Luckily in Hawaii, you kind of just open the windows up and it just flows.
Get the breeze, the prana.
Yeah, I mean, no one has AC there, and it's like obviously if you live up in the mountains, it's gonna get chilly, but usually where I was, you just open the windows at night and in the day and just flows. You know, the coldest it might get is like 55.
That's beautiful.
80. Yeah, so it just flows in a lot of oxygen, and you can smell it. It's sweet.
So you think you might live there in a couple months?
Yeah, a couple months. We're going to do another retreat for New Year's or mid-December. And actually, I hope this pans out. We're in talks right now. There's the show called My Big Fat Fabulous Life. Oh, it's a reality show on the Learning Channel. Oh. And I'm represented by a man in Greensboro, North Carolina, and he also represents this woman who has this TV show, and they're in their 3rd or 4th season now.
Oh, really?
And she had a viral video. She's a ballet dancer, but she put on a lot of weight in college, but she continued to dance or something, so she has a reality show.
Okay.
Whitney, her name's Whitney, and they've been interested in coming out to Hawaii and having like a 4-day grow paradise adventure where they learn about the land, they camp, we'll visit some farms, plant some trees. So they're talking mid-December for that.
Oh, wow.
And I'm in talks with them. I'm hoping that it comes through. It's still early, but they're interested.
So that would be on their show?
That'd be on their show.
clips from Grow Paradise would be on their show.
Yeah. They would come, so her and her family would come and I would be their guide for a few days with, wearing the shirts and everything. And it could be huge.
That'd be amazing.
I really hope it pans out,
Wow.
So whatever it takes to get people into this idea that they can plant the fruit trees, they can have their paradise, all you have to do is plant it. And then to reach it on that level, because he says it's like 50 countries now. A lot of people watch it, so I'm really excited for that.
When would they film, and then when would that air, do you think?
Well, they would film mid-December, probably next summer it would come out.
Later.
Yeah, So the TLC bought another round of episodes.
Shows.
Yeah,
okay.
So I'm crossing my fingers on that one. And then we'll do a retreat right afterwards.
So if someone goes on your retreat, if you go to growparadise.com, you can see videos of your retreats that I've seen that are really cool. So what would someone expect? Like, would they go from someone who doesn't really know a whole lot about growing food to, okay, now I can go home and I know kind of the general idea of what I need to do, what direction I need to take, you know what I mean? Like how to map it all out. Is that an immersion like that?
If the person's interested in that, they will get that.
Okay.
I don't force it upon anybody. I keep it real light.
Okay.
Like we do farm tours, like me and one of the main people that's with me, we'll like do stuff casually. Like we're going to climb coconuts. If anybody wants to come and check it out, we're going to go do it. We're going to go make some food. We're going to go plant stuff. So whoever has that interest, it's there for them. But then if you want to just go walk down to the water and hang out, there's that too. So
I like that. That's cool. Because a lot of people feel like they get stuck when they go into a thing like that.
They're in Hawaii, and I don't want to, sometimes people want more content. They're like, I really want to, and I get that. And we're here for them. But I also don't want to force it. I was helping on a retreat in Costa Rica. I'm not going to say who it was with.
We won't name any names. You know who you are.
A couple brothers, we'll say. And they good guys. They do the radical honesty.
Oh, I think
Radical Honesty workshops.
What is that? I've heard about that.
It was based on a book. I forget his name. He ran for office in Florida. Some guy, really cool. I mean, cool stuff. It's all about the idea that you have to be radically honest with the close people in your life.
Okay.
For you to truly love them, because if you have some walls up based on lies, you subconsciously know that they don't love you fully because you've created an illusion.
Right. Okay.
Cool stuff.
Yeah.
But then we were doing the workshops at noon, and it's a beautiful day in Costa Rica, and we're sitting inside looking at a PowerPoint presentation, and it's like, people want to get out.
Yeah.
So it's kind of good to give them the option,
Yeah.
So
did they complain? Is that what happened? Or they said they don't want to be there?
Yeah, some people did, and I did too. I was muting. I did a little mutiny, and I was like, "This is crazy! Like,
what are we doing inside?
Let's go outside, save it for nighttime or something. I don't know." But so I learned a good lesson with that. I was like, just make it available. You can lead a horse to water, and if someone wants to get more, they can. And the big thing is the farm tours, especially because we're meeting people that have like really monetized on their business, and they're practicing permaculture. They're living off the land, and it's like it's very inspirational. I have a single mother who's a beekeeper. She comes in, shows us how to do all this top bar beehives, and she's a single mom, and she's got this cool honey business. And a few times ago, we had this old Hawaiian guy come, and he taught us about ho'oponopono, which is the Hawaiian forgiveness stuff.
Yeah.
And really cool, So just like these soulful moments, we swim with wild dolphins. We rent a boat for one morning, and then we go and do some waterfall hikes and all kinds of cool stuff. So,
are you doing any modeling anymore?
I still do. I did a job back in April for, it's my life is so weird. For a freaking pharmaceutical company called Stellara.
Oh, no way. Wow. I was going to ask you about that. Like, how do you reconcile your ideals with all that?
It's tough. Like, I always know that I use my earnings for good.
Yeah.
Like I'm buying fruit trees. I'm supporting the community with farmers market, buying food at the farmers market. I don't know. Like, it's just like what the Nazi soldiers said the same thing. If that guy wasn't going to do it, somebody else was going to do it, and that's kind of my excuse. Like, at least I'm using the money for good.
Right.
But I don't like being a part of that beast either.
Do you have to do it anymore?
Oh, I would like to. I mean, it would be nice because it is, you know, I can still do it and the money's easy, but then you're required to live in the city. You know, like you have to live in New York, you got to live in, or I have some friends that work via satellite, just kind of going to city and they live in Phoenix or something.
Yeah, why couldn't you live in Hawaii and just fly to...
It's possible, but you have to work with those agencies that expect you to not live there. Like in New York, if you don't live there, I mean...
It's so fast-paced,
yeah,
right?
they forget you, you know.
And
but
they'll fill your spot with someone else.
But if you have an agency in Denver, Seattle, Greensboro, Dallas, like you can start to do that kind of circuit, you know, and then just live in Hawaii. So I'm gonna start developing that again and see how that goes. But of course, I don't like to work for... Luckily, I've never had to do like a McDonald's job or but I always said, like, if I did, I would specifically donate the money to Fruit Tree Planting Foundation, or just buy a bunch of fruit trees and show the thing and try and like ask for forgiveness from the Facebook community, because I feel like such a hypocrite. But then again, if I go on a casting and I book a job, and then if I were to tell my agency I can't do this because of moral grounds, they just you know, they really they'll drop just, you, you know, like,
they'll say I'll get someone that won't drop it.
Yeah, they'll ask you like, are you comfortable doing fur? That's kind of one of the things. Like, you're cool doing nudity, cool doing fur.
Oh, really?
That's one of the things.
Fur is something.
Fur is something. Like you check it.
Interesting.
But then they don't ask about like animal products and food, or because that's just so normalized, you know.
Isn't that bizarre?
Yeah, you know, wearing animals is a little more vulgar, I think, for mainstream people than eating animals
or participating in GMO or whatever. Yeah.
Or the mass drugging of society.
That's crazy.
You know.
So nudity and fur. Then are there any other ones that they ask for?
Not that I know of. Yeah.
And then so if you were to, I mean, that would be cool if you could just kind of use that as a way to bring in money, extra money.
That was the way, you know, and because I started the blog called Raw Model back in 2007, I think, and I used it. I used some of my model pictures, and I was like, hey, I'm a vegan, and it helped. It took off, you know, and the blog really took off. I started doing the stuff with We Like It Raw, YouTube videos, and I knew if I hadn't used that angle, I would have had some success, I know, but it would have been a lot harder. Like, I was able to ride on these model jobs.
So were you getting model jobs because of the blog?
No.
No, okay, so that wasn't happening.
I mean, I got a couple, like I did a yoga thing. David Wolf's friend Govinda has a yoga company called Oh My Goddess.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
So I did a photo shoot for them, but it was through Jeff the Rotographer. But that was So I did a Surthrival thing once with their T-shirt, but otherwise nothing like that. No.
Interesting.
And those don't really. It's more just for trade.
Yeah, for fun and to help someone out.
Yeah, they'll give you some product and to help the community. But the real jobs are always the other stuff, you know. And sometimes it's just clothing, mainstream stuff. But you can. I mean, if you really want to be serious, you could say, oh, this clothing is not factory farmed, but it's factory made clothing, sweatshop. I mean, where do you draw the line? I mean, somebody's being exploited in almost any product, any electronics, anything.
It's crazy, right? I mean, you can't live in this world without killing something or killing somebody.
Somebody's really suffering for us to be happy or something. Yeah, just the microchips and that's all robots, but even just, you know, the people jumping out of the factory at the Apple factory in China a couple of years ago,
putting nets.
Yeah,
because so many. It wasn't always like, you know, there's so many people that they had to put nets.
Right. I mean, they don't ask you to check that box, you know, but it's like oppression's everywhere, you know. It's like, it's tough.
So what point do you draw the line? It's easy for people to judge and say, well, you know, you did something for a pharmaceutical company. But at the same time, you know, if you're eating wheat, you know how many animals are being pulled up in that combine that's rolling over the wheat? I mean, how many rats are being killed by you know, processing that wheat? So even as a vegan, you know, you're killing, you know, so it's like, where do you draw the line?
Even those goji berries, you know. So that was the thing. Like, I've battled with that forever. Like, even right as I was getting into modeling, I discovered Adbusters magazine, and it's a really cool magazine. It's a website too, adbusters.org, and
I've heard of that, but I don't know what it is.
It's really cool. There's obviously no advertisements in it. It's kind of just like an artsy, anti-capitalist magazine, you know?
Okay.
And a lot of cool articles. It's very heavy on social critique. just really a lot of stuff, So I'm reading this, living in Europe, and then I'm coming into starting to book jobs. And in the magazine, they're even like having like a Calvin Klein ad, and they put like 2 big black X's over the model's face and be like, I don't know, they just kind of deface advertisements, and they.
What, you mean the magazine is doing this?
Yeah, they would take a Calvin Klein ad and put it in the magazine, but then deface it.
Oh, they would alter it and put it as part of their magazine.
Yeah.
Is that illegal?
I don't know.
They're doing it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And like the cat, she would, like a little voice box should be like, I'm starving, or my life is so empty, or something.
Oh my gosh.
And then like big black thing. I don't know. It's like.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And they called it culture jamming. Culture jam.
Culture jam.
Where you're like kind of messing with their own advertisements.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So you were reading this magazine?
Reading this magazine, getting so into it, reading Thoreau and all these things, and then starting to book these model jobs. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm such a hypocrite.
What a weird combo,
yeah,
right?
And like, so I've kind of had this self-loathing complex for a while, just feeling like, well, it's good because I'm inspiring people to eat healthy and maybe even get into permaculture, but then I'm doing this stuff. But I was able to buy land. I bought this food forest in Minnesota, and then the thing in Woodstock, and I needed it to start the retreats and everything. So
much good came from it.
That's my justification.
Yeah. It's like one of those things where, do you buy an Apple laptop and use it to perpetuate the beast? Or do you buy an Apple laptop and use it to help raise consciousness?
Yeah.
I mean, at some level, you're still causing some sort of issues with people that have to build that laptop, and the minerals that come from Africa that are being, destroyed, and people dying over there trying to get those minerals and take them from the land. So at some point but then what are you going to do with that technology?
Right.
And so we all have to make that decision at some point, and just be okay with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And just be okay with it.
I mean, otherwise, what are you going to do? Live in a cave?
Right.
You're going to live in a cave and not talk to anybody.
Yeah, and be inactive, And then you see some of that, or even in the past, like the monks that went to the cave. And then it's like, well, you think you're enlightened, go back down to the city and deal with people.
Yeah.
That's the real stuff. And
help people overcome things.
Yeah, it's easy to retreat, and hide away, but you have to get in the mix again and hash it out with everybody. So, and it's the same way. It's the same way on the social media stuff. And it's like, I'm not the biggest fan of being on the screens a lot, but you can really inspire people. If you have a good message, and there's no better time to get people inspired.
What do you mean being on the screens, like on a billboard or something?
Oh, no, sorry. Just being on devices.
Oh, look, doing stuff like that.
Posting stuff. And I haven't joined Snapchat yet, but, I always thought like, oh God, we're all walking around now filming ourselves. Like, this is just so
crazy,
abstract, right? Surreal. Not only are we just looking at it, but we're actually filming ourselves, like walking down the street. And like,
I know. When does it end, right?
Yeah, what's going So my friend's been telling me to join Snapchat for probably a year now. And I'm like, okay, I will, but
yeah, I've heard a lot of people telling me the same thing, but I just don't want to learn it. I don't want to do it.
I know, but then that guy named Gary Vaynerchuk.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He's like he always gives guys like us crap. He's like, they don't want to join Instagram. They don't want to join Snapchat. They're out. Like no one's going to care. 5 years from now, they're going to be dust.
Yeah. But then again, he's part owner of Snapchat.
Yeah.
There's a good reason. But it's, I see what he's saying. I mean, he's a really New York guy, and he's really into what he's talking about, and he's right. But at the same point, I mean, I don't have a cell phone. I've never had a cell phone.
I admire that. That was really cool.
And I don't think I'm better than anybody else. I just never. It's sort of the same reason why you don't want to join Snapchat.
Yeah.
As I didn't want to get a cell phone.
Yeah.
And then it just kept going and going and going to the point where they became so amazing.
Yeah.
And I just was like, all right, well, I never had one, so I'm okay not having one. And it works, somehow it works. I don't know. It only works because other people have them.
Yeah.
If like 50% of people had cell phones and I didn't, then it would be really hard.
Yeah.
But it's the same kind of thing. I mean, for me, it's like, I don't want to be connected all the time. Mm-hmm. And I had, a friend of mine gave me a cell phone because he was so adamant about me getting one.
Yeah.
And he gave one to me, and it was like, wow, when I had it, and I would still just put it in the backseat of the car kind of thing. I didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
And, but I would turn it off or on. I look at a couple of different things, and it was just became this draw. It's like subtle little draw, like drawing you in, waiting for that little endorphin rush to see if there's any little red squares, with the one in there. And so when I gave it back to him, I said, dude, I'm not having this. I don't want it. And, but it was weird because driving around with it, you just feel like you're always connected.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a good feeling.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
But I think essentially what we all want is to be able to reconnect essentially maybe with ourselves or with the creator more than this sort of fake connection that we have with other people through a device.
Devices.
You know?
It's such a weird dichotomy, you know? It's like it provides so much more connection and cool relationships that never would have happened.
Right.
But also it dilutes other things, you know? And yeah, I wonder where it's all going to go.
It's getting more and more crazy.
Yeah. I mean, and I feel like an old timer already. I mean, I'm just 35, but seeing the change in just the past 10 years and it's
amazing,
like,
right?
Whoa. I don't even know if Pokemon is still happening, like the Pokemon craze. A couple months ago, everybody was like, has it died down?
I don't know. It was a new thing, but I thought it was a thing 10 years ago too. And then it reemerged.
Yeah, it emerged on a phone as a phone app where you're hunting them on your app, but they show real time on your screen. So like I could hold it up looking at you and there'd be a Pokemon sitting right next to you. And someone else could walk in with their phone and see the Pokemon sitting right next to you.
Oh my gosh, what? So it's almost like virtual reality?
It's like virtual reality. Like they're right, and everybody sees them on their phone. So that's why like in Central Park, you'll see all these people running to this one spot where there's Pokemon to go get it. And it's like crazy, I know. It's like, I don't know, it's just this weird thing. And then I was thinking now, it's like, we can do something like go on a holiday, but does it even count if we didn't post about it? Like if we didn't share it on Instagram or Facebook, does it even matter? Like if people didn't see that we went to Mexico, you know, like it's almost like we're keeping it to ourselves, like this little secret, but we want to share, you know, and our ego just like screams to be recognized that we went on a trip and or planted a tree, you know, it's same stuff, you know, like I do, like my ego gets a little boost where it's like, oh, awesome, Anthony, like you planted like a mango tree today, like that's so cool, like you rock. And
you can post it on Instagram and there you go.
And it feels good, you know, but and I guess it's inspiring, but there is that part of me that's like, oh yeah, I feel good about myself because I'm, you know, getting this recognition from other people that I'm green or something.
Guys,
you know?
we're turning into a weird people, man.
It is.
It's like we're buying all the clothes to go hiking just so that we can post about us going hiking.
Yeah.
You know, and say that we're a hiker.
Yeah.
But you never would have done any of that had there been no way to tell the world that you went hiking.
Right.
So it's like we're more concerned with the ability to share who I think I am through, okay, here I am with, surfing in South Africa. I'm a surfer. Look at me. I'm so great.
Yeah.
More than just like if I never had that ability to post and just surfing and enjoying it. Yeah. You know, it's weird. Yeah. It's really weird.
It is. It happens when I go to Hawaii. It's like everyone's so in the moment that I don't even like to look at the phone. You know?
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, it's just you're so busy with everything and you're just living life that the screens are kind of, you know, very secondary. And then it's like, I don't know, I had a phone there and it got rained on and I was this close to not getting a phone. I was like, wow, you could almost get by there without having
almost joined the dark side.
I was getting close, but then the retreat was coming. And I was like, I can't do a retreat without a cell phone. I need to have it. So, but it just makes you feel like, wow, there's something out there, something else that we. But see,
that's the thing too. I think is cool though. I mean, with all this stuff, there's always going to be the part of the ego. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like posting pictures of yourself planting a tree or, you know, without a shirt or whatever. But there's always that with the ego. But for the majority, if the majority of what you're posting, it's like you with the modeling job, you're using that money to do good things. Mm-hmm. And if the majority of what you're doing is exciting people and inspiring them and showing them that there's other options. Yeah. You know, I mean, it's like you can't live. I don't know how long I can go without a cell phone. Mm. It's not hard for me to live without one because I've never had one. But at some point, I'm sure there's going to come a point where I'm not going to be able to, go to the grocery store without scanning my phone or something. Yeah. I mean, so at some point, I'll probably have to give in. But
if you have kids or something.
Yeah, I know. I mean, they're amazing things in what they do. But I think the majority of what we're focused on is helping people using these sort of horrible devices, then
Yeah.
you know, we're doing well.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, it's good.
You know?
It's good. I mean, it could be a lot worse. And yeah, you know, I'm from Minnesota, and it's like a big thing there to kind of be humble or not toot your own horn. Don't really be boastful. You know, nobody likes a braggart. That's kind of like a thing from Minnesota, or Minnesota humble.
Really? No one likes a braggart?
Yeah. No one likes a braggart, you know, people just don't like that. It's like, just kind of let your actions speak for, you know. But then that kind of ties into the social media, like, oh, I don't want to post a selfie, I feel kind of weird.
Right.
But then people are like, no, you know, it inspires, like, or not even a selfie, but just like post stuff, like post, you know, just express yourself and don't be ashamed, you know.
Yeah.
Even like the overall culture, but even like friends in high school, we always had friends that would kind of like knock each other down, you know, like if you would wear a different t-shirt and they would like make a little comment, you know,
yeah.
and you kind of just, it kind of sticks with you, you know, so you don't want to be too out there thinking that they're going to be like, oh, what's this guy doing? Like, he thinks he's so hot or something, or, you know, I've done that model stuff, and I don't even like people knowing that I'm a model, especially other guys, because I don't want that whole stigma or meet them thinking that I'm, you know, better or anything like that. You know,
so
like,
stupid, huh?
Yeah, it's just, I don't like that stuff. So I'd rather people just know me as the garden guy, but obviously I've been posting about the model stuff to help, you know, get people into the garden stuff.
Yeah, so your intention is good.
Yeah, it's good.
You know?
It'll be okay. It'll be okay. I mean, people have commented, you know, you got to pick one or whatever, but I think there is a beauty to the synergy of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, what if someone is able to do a modeling thing, and like how would it benefit anybody for you to work at McDonald's and make $5 an hour and not be able to do any of this Grow Paradise stuff?
Right.
So that people will look at you in a better light, but then they won't look at you in a better light because they won't know who you are.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like at some level, it's like, it's like if you're Kobe Bryant and you can play basketball, or you're Michael Jordan, you can play basketball. Like, what good is it serving anyone to be a chess player? Yeah. You know, it's just not going to help anybody.
Right.
So.
And it's easy to kind of judge people and kind of hate on others, you know, that are, you know, I don't know. It's just like kind of our culture. We'll always find something negative to think of. So and I'm kind of one of those people, you know, where I always kind of, I don't know, I'm a little judgy on some stuff. So I think I reflected on myself, you know, and I'm like, oh God, but I just want to do this stuff. But you're right. Like if I didn't model, I don't think I would have been able to get ahead, to get the land, you know, and start the Grow Paradise stuff. I probably would still be going month to month and skimping, you know, so.
I mean, if you could do it, why not do it?
Yeah.
Do you have a window where you like, is it like, you know, at a certain age, you can't do it anymore?
Oh no, with guys, you can do it. I mean, I'm 35. The best age for guys is 30 to 40, or maybe even silver fox style. You know, once you start getting gray. I have a friend, Eric Rutherford, and he's with my agency in New York, and he kills it. That guy, like, he's always working.
How old is he?
I don't know how old he is, but he's got pretty
some
silver. Oh yeah, he's silver for sure. And he's got, I mean, his Instagram's crazy. People love it, you know. Guys
have such a good deal when it comes to that stuff.
And even, you know, if a woman is strategic, you can find like the mom jobs, even the grandma stuff. Like you can stay with it, but it's not as prevalent, you know. And with women compared to men, there's just so many more products for women that.
So their earning potential is shorter, but they have way more that they can work with.
I mean, if you think just the makeup, the hair, the everything.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the women buy so many more toiletries than men do.
Yeah.
And somebody's got a model for it, I guess. And the clothing, you know, and if it wasn't for, I don't know, like the homosexual community, I don't know how many guys would even be buying fancy clothes, maybe besides a businessman or something.
Yeah, right. Know?
Yeah. So it's hard to say. Yeah, but it's, I'm not interested in continuing to do it, but if it comes up, I would. I would like to have it as a backup while Grow Paradise develops.
Right.
You know, so have the farm in Hawaii, operate out of there, do the retreats there. I would love, we've been speaking with this durian farmer lately, and he's talking about maybe selling it.
Oh, really?
Selling a durian farm.
Is it close to where you are?
Yeah.
So would you move locations to his place, or would you use it as an adjunct?
Oh no, I would. Yeah, I mean,
you have
to get financing for it, but
oh wow,
we'll see. He's got 60 mature durians, 30 years old, and 60 mangosteens.
Is he turned on to all this kind of rock dust, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, he is.
Wow, so he's really feeding the soil well.
Yeah.
Wow. I bet that's going to be insane.
I know. So my friend and I, we met him at a cafe as he was delivering durians. And we were actually drinking it's called Sweet Cane Cafe. It's in Hilo, durian cacao smoothie. And then our other friend Joe, he's like, hey, look, there's a pickup truck full of durians. And we walk out and we're like, whoa, could we take a photo in front of, He's like, yeah, sure. He's like, do you want one? And we're like, yeah, I guess.
Of course.
Like, what? Okay. And he's like, yeah, Merry Christmas. It's just such a divine moment, And we were just freaking out. He's like, I might be interested in selling it. We'll see. And hopefully nobody in the area listens and tries to snag it from me. But who knows? So I was like, dude, let me help you. Let me go on the property for a bit.
Did he know what you do or anything?
Not quite yet. No, he didn't know.
At the time, he didn't know.
Yeah. So we went there with Nick and Lucy of Sun Warrior.
Oh, okay.
Just to check it out, and he was kind of showing us around and everything. And he's like, I don't know, we'll see. See how I sell it. I really want to. I want to buy this boat. I want to do those stuff. And if that was the case, man, like durian farm in Hawaii, just rocking it out. Because the market's already there. I mean the mangosteens, have you ever had a mangosteen?
I have not.
Oh, yeah, they're good.
I've heard amazing things. Mangosteen rind is supposed to be incredible.
Yeah, not by itself. I mean, if you,
it's supposed to be super medicinal.
They powder it,
yeah, they powder it,
and then encapsulate it because it's so bitter.
Yeah.
I took a bite once and it was just
Really.
But the fruits they're sweet and good, and then the durians, I don't know, we'll see. So I would love to be set up there, and just have this beautiful durian farm, and then have chickens, have worms, have bees, and just rock it out, And I was
that would be on your own property then, essentially.
Yeah.
You would live there, and then you could have all that, and then you can have retreats. People come to where you are
on the durian farm.
Is there a place on that property now where people could stay if they?
There's 5 bedrooms, and then we would probably build some cabins.
Okay.
And it's cool on the Big Island. If it's under 600 square feet, you don't have to permit your cabin.
So maybe you could build multiple cabins. $599.
Yep.
And then you don't have to tell anybody.
Tiny home, 600 square feet. I mean,
that's nothing.
I'm from New York City, so that's 600 square feet is pretty good.
Yeah.
You can do a lot with that. So, and then when you're in Hawaii, you want to be outside anyway. So, that's plenty. You got your bedroom, kitchen, little whatever. And then have a durian farm,
So what would be your ultimate goal with Grow Paradise? To have people come, to teach them, and then to take that message on to their own lives?
That would be ideal. Have them come. I would love to tour more as well, like go around and give the Grow Paradise talk. And maybe do retreats in other parts of the world, but I love being based in Hawaii because when I was living here and I had to do a retreat in Hawaii, like you're having to reserve it and you're not on the site yet, and it's just like a lot of things, Right. So I really love the idea of being based there, having people come, inspiring them, doing the social media stuff, really cranking that out more, investing into that, more YouTube videos. I used to make a lot of YouTube videos.
Yeah, you were on there all the time.
I mean, that was when I was single or when I was in a long distance relationship. That was like my girlfriend.
You had all this time, huh?
Yeah, I would film myself and I make a video. You know, and I don't know. I cranked out like 150.
Wow.
And are
they still online?
They're still online.
Yeah. No way.
The channel's called Raw Model, and I opened up a Grow Paradise channel, but my Raw Model channel had so much stuff already that I don't know.
I wonder if you could just change the name of it.
I don't think they let you.
You can't do that?
Yeah, I don't think.
Because that would
I would
be
love
cool
to know that. If I could, I would. But
yeah.
So it's been kind of like, okay, I guess I have to keep the Raw Model thing, but it's whatever. And then I've started to make videos again.
Okay.
But I have an old Apple, and it's just kind of slow, so I'm not making them as much. But I'm definitely getting back into it.
Dude, have you thought about creating like an online course for people?
Yeah, I've been approached a few times, and it's just about. It's weird. Like I have a hard time sitting down and just hashing that out. Like I'm so much good. I can spend weeks just planting stuff, being active, but sitting down and doing the paperwork
and like coming up with the flow of everything.
Yeah,
but that would be like
Grow Paradise online.
Dude, online academy or something where people could log in and pay for, I don't know, like a monthly thing, or they could pay just for the course and then you could teach them. Yeah. Because that would be something that I would be all about. Because I've never really planted anything, and I'm into the same stuff you're into, just a different side of it.
Yeah.
And like if there were a course of you teaching step by step how to go, but I understand, dude, because it's like it's so much to go through and figure out.
I know it's going to happen once I get situated in Hawaii.
Yeah.
I'm going to be able. I mean, because the footage is there, you can really get good content, and Wim Hof.
Oh,
He did an online course.
Yeah.
And dude's killing it. I'm sure. I know like 3 people that bought that, and that's just me. Like 3 people, that's a lot. So, and I think it was $200 a crack or something.
Yeah.
So
it's on my list. I'm gonna get it one of these days.
Yeah. I hung out with a buddy and we did the breathing exercises.
Oh yeah.
Whoa, man, like really crazy. And they're easy. I mean, one thing is take 30 deep breaths, and just try and jam them in there and really deep exhale and just do 30 and just lay on your back. And then once I was on a road trip, I was sitting in the passenger seat and I was doing this.
In the car, yeah.
Passenger seat.
Yeah.
Starting, my temples are starting to tingle. But it's not, I was very oxygenated,
Yeah.
Temples start tingling, fingertips start tingling. And then it was starting to go up into my third eye area, the tingles.
Whoa.
And then my mouth was getting numb and I was just so euphoric.
At what number breath was this? Number 1?
I did it for maybe...
Wow, all that happened while in number 1.
It was about 10 minutes. Yeah.
So you had done more than 30 then?
Definitely. I was just kind of sitting there, not even telling her about it. I was just kind of like...
Okay.
And you start to feel kind of dizzy, and I was just still doing it. I was like fighting that. I was just going through it. And then you start to feel the tingles in your temple, your forehead. And I was like, something's going on with this Wim Hof stuff. Like,
that guy's incredible.
Yeah. Pranayama. I mean...
There's something to it, right?
Yeah.
Because he says, don't the yogis say that 30 a day?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. 30
deep bananas breaths. Or deep breaths?
The yogis have been 30 bananas a day. They've all got candida. They would say 30 breaths a day, but that's the same thing.
Dream.
I know, right? Dr. Nunley's will be just flooded. But yeah, that's incredible. I've done that too a little bit. I haven't played around with it too much, but his stuff is incredible. I mean, he's changing the expression of his own immune system to be able to fight off viruses and stuff.
I like him.
He's insane.
Yeah,
we're trying to get him. We tried to get him in the studio here.
He was here recently.
I know. He was at the longevity conference, and we almost got him in.
That would have been so cool.
I know, that guy's such a powerhouse.
Yeah,
he's got quite a story, but
yeah. So the online course, I think it's going to happen. Same with the book. Everyone's like, why don't you write a Grow Paradise book? Even just a little handbook, like an e-book, I guess. But it wouldn't be that tough. I just need to sit down. I'm really bad at sitting down these days. I just like to do more of the active stuff. And if I could pay somebody or have a volunteer, somebody could help me just formulate a book, or online course, I feel like within the next 2 years it'll happen.
Yeah. That would be cool.
Yeah. All the footage in Hawaii is so good,
Dude, you should start a membership website.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. Get people involved and you could help them every month.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Wow.
I like that.
So that's cool. Growparadise.com and people can...
I brought you...
Oh, dude.
I don't know if medium or large.
They're all good.
You think...
Dude, thank you. This is awesome.
You got some good muscles there. You might want the large.
Oh, well, I try to get... I've actually I quit my gym membership. I'm working out in my backyard now.
Nice. I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw those.
Loving it. Dude, this is awesome.
Grow Paradise tank top.
Dude, this is great, man.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is a large?
Try it. Try it on after the show and see. Yeah.
Dude, this is awesome. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, so Grow Paradise is the website, and you got all your social media linked up on there.
Yeah.
And if people want to reach you, can people consult with you?
Absolutely, yeah.
I
do consultations both for health and wellness and also the permaculture.
Okay.
Mostly, well, actually, no. Recently, I would say it's half and half. Okay. I had a good one the other day with a man from Turkey. Actually, kind of weird. Yeah, found me online
for the health or for the
health.
Really?
Yeah. Lives in London now, but he's Turkish, and we did a Skype, and that's kind of the cool thing about technology now.
So he just needs people that just need some ideas about their own health, and
they're just kind of they're looking for stuff, and they see that I've been in the game for a while, and I've kept muscle mass. And he was interested in not being a full vegan because he was a full vegan. And he's like, I'm kind of interested in dabbling, and I saw that you left in 2009 and I was kind of curious what you were doing. And so that comes up a lot.
Okay.
But then also the permaculture stuff too. So
that's cool. So you can contact, or people can contact you on Skype. You can talk to them and give them direction and where they can go for their gardening.
Absolutely. And my Skype is Raw Model, but my email, you can always reach me as Anthony@growparadise.com. And then the, Facebook's Anthony Anderson. So it's like Anthony Anderson with an A right in the middle.
Okay.
Because there's that famous actor. His name's Anthony Anderson.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's a comedian. He was on Me, Myself, and Irene. He was one of the 3 adopted boys.
Okay.
Or one of the 3 boys, yeah.
I've never heard of him,
yeah,
so I know
Anthony
you,
Anderson.
so that's better.
Pretty cool.
I'd rather know you than that guy.
I met him. I went to a comedy show, and I showed him my ID, and I was like, "Yes, dude." He's like,
awesome.
"You're the white dude that's stealing my cred." I'm like, "That's right."
That's awesome.
Plant some trees, bro. So yeah, there's that. Facebook, Instagram, the YouTube is Raw Model.
Okay.
And I think that's about it as far as, but Anthony at growparadise.com, and I check it a lot. So I reply, and I'm always happy to talk with people that are interested, and especially if someone's interested about growing food, and I'm so happy to help, and whatever it takes. Even, I would love to do a 1-hour consultation with the folks out there in Radioland, but even, just shoot me some quick questions if you want. I'm more than happy to help a person on the path. We're all paradise creators, as I say,
Right.
So if you want to be a paradise creator, I'm so happy to help you. Like, no problem at all. So whatever you need to get started, I can recommend some good books.
Directions, websites, places to go.
On that note, a really good book is called Gaia's Garden.
Oh, I've heard you talk about that.
Gaia, Gaia, like the Earth, Mother Earth, Gaia's Garden by Toby Hemingway. Anything from Sepp Holzer, like I mentioned before, is great. And they all have YouTube videos as well. Jeff Lawton, he's awesome. He's an English Australian guy. He spells his name Geoff, Jeff Lawton. And you just start from there, and then just kind of go down that rabbit hole, and you'll find a lot of good stuff.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, thanks for cruising by today.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
So
I don't even know how long we've been going.
Dude, we've been going for 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Oh!
Isn't that crazy? 2 hours, 45 minutes. It's nuts.
How are you gonna do that?
I'll just post the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah, people can watch it double speed if they want.
Wow. You can post on YouTube?
Yeah, I'll post it on YouTube. And,
wow. Even that long?
Yeah.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, you can do, 10 hours if
That's
you want.
a long interview.
I know, right? Yeah, awesome. Thanks for coming by. I got to go pee so bad.
Cool.
So we'll stop this now. But
Prickly pear juice.
Yeah. Oh, man. So good. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you. Peace.